Hey, good morning, Nicholas. Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Chris.
How we doing?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday! Oh,
It doesn't have the same juice it had before the pandemic, did it? Though.
no, it's true. Fridays mean they're a lot more important.
They're more important.
Yes.
Really? I think it's less important.
You think it's why? You still have to work. You're still working.
Yeah. Well, I feel like before the pandemic, Friday's like, okay, yeah, we can go do something. Let's
True.
go out.
Yeah, true.
But now it's like, okay, it's Friday. Saturday is kind of the same as Friday, except there's no work.
Right.
Just kind of sitting there.
Right. And Monday is like Saturday, except there's work.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Bill, good morning. Bill, are you a William? Can I call you William? I like full names. Patrick, good morning. Happy Friday no matter what. I agree, Patrick. Mark, good morning. Looking forward to an awesome show. Well, hopefully we can
look somewhere else.
We can deliver. Yeah. Oh goodness. It's just you know why I'm really excited? Because it's just like this week has just been crazy stuff going on. We've just had, like one thing after another. It's great. I mean, news week, but boy, I could have done without the whole Capitol thing, but that's just me. Okay.
Like William.
Perfect. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about that SolarWinds breach, and the hacking that took place literally across the world, and who's to blame here? Who do we have an idea of who this is? We'll talk to ex-CIA about that. We're also going to try to get the latest from what's going on in Washington, from a political science professor down at the University of Texas at Arlington. We're going to talk to Matthew Schneider, our Eastern District of Michigan U.S. attorney, because they're now getting involved in trying to determine who from Michigan may have been involved in this. So we're going to talk about that too. And we got a lot of other stuff to do. We'll kick off the show with something that I know that a lot of people have been wondering and curious about. So hopefully we can provide some answers to you there.
Here we go.
Help you prepare for the new normal in this not free America.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
Now, our producer here, Nick Roddy, is I think he's wrong. He said, because we're talking about it being Friday. It's exciting. It's Friday. Everybody, we're going into the weekend. We're going to try to have some fun on the show today, talk about some topics that I think are important, and people are really thinking about it, especially now, with everything that had gone on in Washington, D.C., and now with the Georgia elections being the way they are, and the results being the way they are, the Democrats are going to have control. So we got a lot to talk about. But I mean, it's Friday. Friday's it's good. Friday's great. It doesn't have less juice, Nick. I know. Friday is just as good as any other Friday, pre-pandemic or not. I don't know what you're talking about. Chris Renwick in for Frank this morning. Good to have you with us. Look, with everything that has gone on, something that had kind of gone under the radar is what the results of the Senate runoffs in Georgia. And come to find out, both Democrat candidates won those elections. And so now you've got a 50-50 split of senators in the United States Senate, with incoming Vice President Kamala Harris being the deciding vote. So the Democrats will have control of the Senate. And there's been so much made about what they're going to do. I mean, there are some legitimate constitutional reforms that they've talked about. And in fact, the House has even passed a bill on something. But how possible is this to happening? Is it real? What are the votes that are needed? A lot of questions that need to be asked and answered. And to help us do just that, Paul Moreno, Dean and Professor of Constitutional History at Hillsdale College, joins us this morning here on the Frank Beckmann Show. Paul, good morning to you.
Oh, good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
So there are so many things that I want to get to. So I want to get right to it. There are things like stacking the Supreme Court, adding seats to that body, and whether or not that's possible. What are the votes needed in both the House and the Senate? And does anybody else need to get involved in trying to add seats to the Supreme Court? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's happened before. Hasn't happened since roughly the Civil War, but the size of the Supreme Court is changed. The Constitution doesn't specify that. Mm-hmm. Again, I doubt that's going to be the first thing the Democrats try to do, because I expect that the Supreme Court will behave itself. They'll respond to the election returns and do everything they can to avoid becoming a political target. But the votes, the one vote that matters most of all is ending the Senate filibuster. Mm-hmm. Ever since its beginnings, it used to be a 2/3 requirement. Now it's been reduced to 60 votes since the 1970s. But at any point, a majority can decide that they're not going to have minority rule anymore in the Senate. And as a matter of fact, I would actually be in favor of that.
Really?
But not not at this moment. I mean, as a Republican and as a conservative, I hope they don't do it. But
yeah. So you're saying that the filibuster used to be 2/3, and now it's just 60 votes in the Senate.
Right. In 1974, I think they reduced it.
Okay, interesting. So they would still have a hard time getting to that point. At least
Joe Manchin, the West Virginia senator, said that he's not going to go along with that. He's not going to change the filibuster rule, but a lot of people doubt that he'll keep his word.
Right. The other thing that I think is really interesting, and this goes back a long way, and I want to try to explain this, and you tell me if I'm right, wrong, off base, or nuts. But when the founders were getting this thing going off the ground, Alexander Hamilton wanted the country's capital to be somewhere further north, and Jefferson wanted it further south. Well, they somewhat compromised and landed right along the Potomac, along Maryland and Virginia, and finally settling on what has now become Washington, D.C. And when they were determining states and trying to figure out, the layout of the country, they thought it was going to be a bad idea to give Washington, D.C. statehood. And that has carried all the way till today. Now, there has been much talk, and sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire, about making Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states. So they would become the 51st and the 52nd states in our union. And there has been, in fact, a House resolution that has been passed, House Resolution 51, to make Washington, D.C. a state. How likely, and again, what would it take that we may end up seeing Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states in our country?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. And by the way, Puerto Rico could come in as more than one state if the Democrats were really ambitious. Mm-hmm. They could do things like turn California into a couple of states. But the question about DC is because of its peculiar status as the capital district. It used to include part of what is now Arlington, Alexandria, Virginia, and that was given back to the state of Virginia also in the 1840s. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was the question of taxation without representation in Washington, D.C. was most of it could just be given back to Maryland. You would just need the part right around Capitol Hill where the government buildings are, and it's referred to as retrocession, and that would take care of that. But you're right, the Democrats are ready for this. For decades now, there's been a proposed constitution for the state of I think it's New Columbia or something like that. So they are ready to do this. Again, some people who have constitutional doubts about it, that could well end up in the Supreme Court. But I think it is well within the realm of possibility. It serves the Democrats' goal, which is to make sure that we don't have another election that makes any difference. They want to lock in what they've just achieved and make sure that something like Donald Trump never happens again. So they're going to pack the Senate not first before they do before they take on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and what are the votes needed for something like that? Do the states get any say in that?
No. As long as the majority of Congress, both houses of Congress, go along with this. Again, you've never had, almost always, Texas is the one exception here. You've had a territory that's gone through a territorial phase where it's governed, by Congress. The District of Columbia is different, though, because there's a specific provision in Article 1, Section 8 that gives Congress plenary power over whatever district is chosen as the national capital. Territorial government's been, is a little bit different.
Professor, if you were a betting man, would you bet that Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, these are things that we start to see here pretty quick?
No, actually, I think this is pretty. That's sort of the nuclear option.
Okay.
Changing the number of states, adding stars to the flag. That's pretty radical. And I think if the Democrats are smart, they'll recognize the election results were really not all that favorable to them. All things considered, the fact that the Republicans actually gained seats in the House of Representatives was kind of astonishing. And the margin of victory, to say the least, was not large. So I think they would do to be cautious and prudent. And a lot of people think that Joe Biden, who, insofar as he ran a campaign at all, tried to emphasize that he was not, part of the radical, AOC wing of the Democratic Party.
Sure. Well, we'll see. Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., has said that she wants this passed in the first 100 days. We'll see if it happens. Paul Moreno, Dean and Professor of Constitutional History at Hillsdale College. We appreciate the insight. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yep, you got it. All right, more to come here on the Frank Beckmann Show. First off to the roadways with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Well, the Light Fest is continuing to come down along Hines Drive, both directions, eastbound and westbound, between Outer Drive and Ann Arbor Trail. That is closed for that Light Fest display removal until 2 p.m. Now, WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Clarkston Window and Door. Over 31 years in business, over 450 combined years of experience installing windows, trusted specialists at Clarkston Window and Door. Act now to take advantage of 31% off install windows, doors, and garage doors. 248-338-6781 or clarkstonwindow.com.
Low to mid 30s should do it this afternoon. Breeze out of the north-northeast might make it feel a little bit colder. Clouds mixed with some sunshine. Trying to get some sun in here anyway. Tonight, some clouds, 24, suburbs colder. Saturday, sunshine, clouds, 39. Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high of 35. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Staging on News Talk 760 WJR.
We've been waiting for COVID-19 vaccines to be developed. Now, waiting for them to get to us. But you can do more than wait. You have powerful ways to help slow the spread right now and protect your family and loved ones too. Here's how. Watch your distance. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with. It's risky to be indoors with them too. And of course, avoid crowds. Also, wear a mask. CDC reports masks.
All right, let's see here. Let's see. Patrick, inside radio question, who's screening? Nick Roddy is taking calls today. Matthew is great. Yep, Matthew Schneider's awesome. Supreme Court didn't behave itself. They could have stopped Pennsylvania before the election. You should all remember, as we have a new party leading this country, we the people are still in charge. We have a say in what our representatives vote on, and we should all be aware of who our representative is and be willing to participate in discussions with them on agreements or disagreements with decisions being made on our behalf. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's absolutely the case. Good call, Phil. Bill, your first guest sounded like a smart guy. I think he is a smart. We don't bring you not smart people. We try to bring you the best. And in terms of constitutional, history, there are not many better places than Hillsdale College. The interesting thing is, right, I actually tend to agree with them. I don't know that packing the court is even something that they'll do, but certainly the states thing is something that I do see that they, my prediction is that they will do that. Maybe not in the first 100 days, but I think that is something that, unless they think people are going to see through it, which is also possible. Regarding the resignation of cabinet members, Lane Chow and Betsy DeVos, I admire their bravery. I had similar bravery when I unbuckled my cyber before a plane came to a complete stop. Is that supposed to be seatbelt, maybe?
So.
I really enjoy your guests from Hillsdale College. Please keep interviews coming. All right, we'll do it where we can. Yeah.
Must be 21 and over in President Michigan. Bonus issued at
Full site credit that expires 7 days after FanDuel goes live in Michigan. $100 is distributed as $50 site credit on each of sportsbook and casino. Unique user ID verification required. Offer ends on go live day. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. It's the number for you to call or text. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube as well if you want to watch the show over there. All right, we'll get to some phone calls here. Let's go to Greg in Shelby Township. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, C-Note, Mr. Positive here.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. First and foremost, got to say happy birthday to Frank's grandchild today. And
yes,
David
Pearson's birthday today.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Pearson. Frank texted me. He said he was excited. They were having a party this weekend. So happy birthday. Happy birthday, little Pearson. Good dude.
Yeah,
Pearson.
little Pearson. And my boy Elvis and David Bowie. God,
All
great
right.
people.
Yeah.
Real quick, I guess I just have some anxiety. Me being a Republican and an independent. Now we have the Democrats arguably controlling everything, the presidency, Congress, and Senate. I'm just curious as to the direction our lives are going to go, society as a whole is going to go. And number two, I've got to ask you, a lot of people bandy this concept around. Everybody that voted for Trump is part of a cult. 75 million people are part of a cult. Do you know why they say that people that voted for Trump and his policies are like a cult?
Donald Trump has touched he touched a very unique nerve with a lot of people. And it was Donald Trump had this reaction from people and it's not something that another politician has gotten out of people. These people feel like these people are a lot of Donald Trump supporters, at least what I've been able to gather, and we've been able to gather on this show with Frank. I mean, they felt abandoned by government. They felt abandoned by the people who are in Washington, D.C. that are supposed to benefit and represent them. They felt abandoned. Donald Trump brought them back and brought them into the fold. And because of that, it seems as though this is their guy, which is fine. Right. But I think that's really it. I mean, I think that Donald Trump got people to participate, got people to care about government, got people to care about what's going on in China, got people to care about what's going on with NAFTA and if it's a good deal for us. And he had this idea of America first, and whether you like it or you don't, you think it's right or wrong. People like that. There should be a certain sense of we're looking out for us. And that hasn't always happened. And so when a guy comes in and comes in with a gusto and takes that stance, I think people really respond to that.
Yeah, and Chris, it seems to me it was a pejorative term, but you've articulated it very well, and you're right. So we're really not, cult followers.
No, of course.
Like you had said, adhere to gusto and his bravado, and So yes, I totally I love what you said. And hey, everybody out there in Radio Line, have a great weekend and believe in the magic of your dreams.
All right, Greg. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Lansing. Talk to Tim. Good morning, Timothy.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Actually, it's Tim. It's not Timothy, but that's what my parents did to me. Hey, I will admit I did not listen yesterday morning, but I did listen yesterday afternoon, and I did not listen to Rush yesterday. The thing that I noticed was the people that were coming on the radio, and this is coming on WJR, nobody spoke for the protesters. We heard politicians, and I'm sorry we disrupted their pleasant day with them having to face something that's been happening in cities all across the country, that's never been addressed. But they were never really in any danger. I mean, give me a break. But we're talking 74 million votes. That's not a small number of people who's, yesterday afternoon, I heard Mike Rogers turn into Mitt Romney on your station. The Detroit police chief, he was great, talking about the person who was shot and how nobody's going after the information regarding that, and how he would have to have that information almost immediately. But everybody else, it seems, nobody's speaking, and I don't purport to speak on behalf of the protesters, but nobody's talking about their concerns, what they're thinking about. It's if you want to see civil war, impeach Donald Trump. I mean, you got 74 million people.
Nobody wants to see civil war, Tim. Nobody wants to see civil war. Unfortunately for the peaceful protesters that were in Washington, D.C., unfortunately for them, they got overshadowed by people that stormed the Capitol. So the message got diluted, unfortunately, because they have every right to go out there and have their voices heard and protest. They have every right, but what happened is not right. And so, yeah, the message gets diverted. And I don't know if that's an organizational problem. I don't know if it's the people who put that thing together. I don't know if it was just a spur of the moment, let's go in. I don't know if it was planned. We don't know any of those things yet. But I will say that was not the way to do it. It's not the way to go about it, because what was accomplished.
And I will say I'm sure it was an organizational problem. I mean, let's go back, to the Tea Party. Tea Party was very disorganized, but it's a lot of people. Like I say, we're talking 74 million votes. And
I'm not saying that Donald Trump's people aren't there. Of course they're there. Of course they're there. But when you go to protest, when you go to have your voices heard, which is your constitutional right, nobody should take that away from you. When there are the small number of people that go into the Capitol and cause mayhem, unfortunately, that's the story. Doesn't stay with the people who are outside peacefully protesting, because a woman got shot, 3 other people died from medical emergencies, and then now one of the police officers are dead. So no, the story did change. It evolved. And I think there's going to be a time when we can even continue furthering this and talk about the things that are going to continue to come out. But unfortunately for the peaceful protesters, the story changed when people break in to our nation's capital. I appreciate the call, Tim. Thank you. 800-859-0957. 926 off to the roadways we go. We'll check things out there with our Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking at construction today along 275 northbound between 94 and M14. That left lane is closed and moving lane closure scheduled until 5 p.m. today. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Expecting some sunshine finally later today. It's going to be crispy outside, nice and cold, high of 31. Tonight, a few clouds, your low 25. More sun on Saturday, partly cloudy, peaks of sun later, a high of 38. Cloudy skies, 28 degrees. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in about 3 minutes.
Know your risk factor for heart attack and stroke. Tune in Sundays at 3 to News Talk 760 WJR to hear about the latest diagnostic technology from Dr. Brian Collender.
Have you seen what's happening?
All right, let's see here. Yeah, I figured it was seatbelt, Patrick. I was with you. I was smelling what you were stepping in. No argument, Mr. Positive. The Democrats are now in control. They want us to submit. We have already been threatened about following him. If we still with him after this attack on the Capitol, then we are really stupid. Guy has really been on a tear since it happened. I hope he relaxes and brings it down a notch. He's a very intelligent man and a good host. Guy's great. I didn't hear much of his show yesterday, so I'm not really sure what he said. But look, guy really knows what he's. Guy is very much dialed in. Guy's very good at what he does. I heard a lot of firsthand accounts from people who were there and noticed people who were dressed differently, almost military, but they weren't military. Some had backpacks with hammers and bullhorns. Yeah, I'm sure that there were people like that there. I'm sure people were, I don't know. I'm sure there were people dressed, all differently. But we'll see. Again, this is where I think a lot of the investigation is gonna try to play itself out. Who instigated what? Where did it start? I think that's where we're when I talk about we're going to be able to further this and talk about a lot more going forward. I think that's kind of what I mean. I think the investigations they're going to point a lot of stuff out. So we'll see. If you want to call in, 800-859-0957. That's your phone number. Nick, are you available? Nick's not available. Nick, are you there? I'm going to go out on a limb here, Chris. I take it you're a Democrat. You'd be wrong, Chris. And as a talk show host, I think you would need to do your homework. Is Power W. Smith said this morning on his show, this has been planning 2 or 3 weeks under everybody's nose on social media. Capitol Police were asked to, or 3 days in advance by the DOJ and FBI if they needed more personnel, and they turned it down. So as a talk show host, let's get your facts straight before you go on the air and say, we do. Okay. Well, I don't really quite know what you're talking about. I don't really quite know what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm interested to see why exactly, not just reports on whatever news site. I don't know. I didn't hear Paul say that, so I don't know where he's getting that information from. But I'm going to wait and see what happened and what the investigators say this was, Chris. And as that information comes out, then we can talk more about the nuts and bolts. But until then, I can only go on what I see. And unfortunately, it was sad. It was a sad event. Because I started off angry, but then I just got to a place where I was just sad about it. I couldn't believe I was disappointed that this was happening. So that's what this is. He said it more than one time, and he even said it to the police chief, but Detroit, when he talked to him this morning. Well, I'll have to go back and listen to it. I didn't hear his interview with Chief. So we'll go back and listen to it and take a look. But certainly there was some sort of breakdown there as to why they didn't have enough police, why there weren't enough law enforcement officials there, why investigators, why the intelligence didn't show that something like this was going to happen. I mean, I look, here's what I can tell you. Let me find it here. The young woman who was shot, the Trump supporter who was shot, she tweeted out a day before, "Nothing will stop us. They can try and try and try, but the storm is here and it is descending upon DC in less than 24 hours. Dark to light," is what she said. So if these are the type of things that are on social media, and you say that it's been out there, in broad daylight, that to me doesn't tell people that they're going to break windows and storm the Capitol building. So again, we're going to have to find out and wait and just, pump the brakes. Let's see what the investigators uncover, and then we'll go from there. That's where I'm at with it. But I can certainly react and tell you how I feel about it happening, about what happened. That's where I feel comfortable talking about it. But I don't want to jump the gun before we get actual intelligence on what happened. Exactly. We need to know who started this, and I have no doubt Trump supporters went in, but I still don't believe they were the ones causing damage. It is a horrible stain on our country. It is sad that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have now made it racial. Well, when I talked to Debbie Dingell yesterday, I asked her whose responsibility it was to turn down the heat. She said everybody. Democrats, Republicans, everybody. Well, Democrats aren't doing a very good job so far. I mean, it's been 24 hours. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. But we'll see how it goes. I'll give them some opportunities here, but that's going to run out if they keep pushing the envelope like this. I mean, heck, you got the governor of the state of Michigan tweeting out yesterday, or at least early this morning, her wearing a shirt that says "Dear," and then it's a picture of the United States of America. So, "Dear America, sorry about Betsy DeVos. Sincerely," and then the shape of Michigan. So that ain't turning down the heat either. And that's from our own governor. After one of our congressional representatives here in the state told us that it was on them to turn down the heat.
It's time to take charge of your health. Call Dr. Brian Collender at 866-KOLENDER.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
So while federal investigators and I suppose local law enforcement in the Washington, D.C. area continue to investigate the attack on the Capitol and that protest that turned into, I suppose not so much a protest. And there are so many different layers that you got to peel back. And that's certainly what investigators in the Metro DC area and in the property within Washington, D.C., that they're going to be continuing to do. I imagine this isn't just a couple days here. They're going to be looking at this for quite some time to put all the puzzle pieces together. In the meantime, here in our area in Southeast Michigan, our investigators, our law enforcement here doing their due diligence to see what role Michigan residents played in the takeover of the Capitol, or at least the attempted takeover of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Matthew Schneider, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, is on the case, and he joins us now this morning here on the Frank Beckmann Show. Matthew, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for talking about such an important issue. And the first thing to know is that it's an ongoing investigation, and we are in pursuit and looking for people who committed acts of violence at the U.S. Capitol, and whether or not they had a connection to Michigan. We're asking everybody, if you know of that type of incident, to call the FBI call 1-800-CALL-FBI or go to tips.fbi.gov so that we can pull this all together and bring justice to the country, really, as a result of this horrible and horrific incident.
The thing that strikes me is this isn't like robbing a gas station. This isn't like knocking up a bank. Even this is the United States Capitol building, where I would have to imagine the security system that's in place, and I mean cameras and other tools at disposal for law enforcement, that they're going to be able to go back and look, and they should get a pretty clear look at some of that footage, even outside of the information that had been made available via social media as everything had gone on.
Yes, Chris, that's true. And just think about the U.S. Capitol and how many cameras there are around it, surrounded by cameras both inside and out. So it's going to take some time for the FBI and the Capitol Police to go and review the camera footage to identify folks inside and outside. And I've seen many of those photos. Fortunately, I didn't recognize anybody personally, but it takes some time to then do the interviews, identify folks, and then line up exactly what was taking place. And, I have to emphasize, there's a big difference here when we're talking about protesting peacefully. If you went to Washington, D.C. from Michigan to have a peaceful demonstration or to exercise your First Amendment rights, there's nothing wrong with that. But it is a federal crime to commit acts of violence, just as what we saw here this summer when we saw people protesting peacefully in Detroit, but yet they went to Portland and they torched police cars, or they burned the courthouse, and they did the same in Los Angeles or other parts of the country. That's unacceptable. I mean, we've got to find a way to be disagreeable without being violent, because if you do that, you could wind up in a federal prison.
Yeah, no doubt. And unfortunately, politics are going to politic. And so, and we're seeing that now, even as of yesterday. You've got, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris coming out and making, some pretty damning comments, as did the incoming president in Joe Biden, saying that, look, this would not have been treated this way had other protesters been there. And I shudder to think that we're even making those comparisons. But here we are. Now, we know for sure that at least 6 people from Michigan have already been arrested in incidents revolving around the incident at the Capitol. Do you anticipate more? Do you anticipate that number staying at 6? Is it hard to tell right now? Where are you at in your investigation?
Well, it'll definitely go up, and I'm positive that. I know that my colleagues in Washington, D.C. plan on bringing additional charges, dozens in fact, and they're starting that today. And we have to look at this about what charges we're talking about, right? I put this into 2 different categories. Number one is some of those minor crimes, curfew violation, or trespassing, or destruction of government property under $1,000. That's a misdemeanor. And then you look at the wholly separate other category of potential crimes, destruction of federal government property over $1,000. That's a felony. Civil disorders, inciting a riot, seditious conspiracy, which is a possibility. And bombs were located as well. Yeah. And so, explosive devices, you're talking about up to 20 years in a federal prison. Assaulting federal officers, also a very, very serious crime. And so our connection here is we're trying to see whether or not any of those pieces of the conspiracy, if there was one, are connected to Michigan.
One thing that our investigators are really good at, whether it's local, state, or you at the federal level, you're really good at identifying people and doing the necessary work to find out more about them and their background and whatnot. There's been so much to be made about whether these people are true supporters of the president, whether they've been infiltrated by another group, and what have you. How much do you look into that to see, who's kind of causing the issue in this, at least in this particular situation?
Well, first of all, we look at who committed a crime, regardless of their background, whether they're a Democrat or Republican. That's immaterial. If you've committed an act of violence against a federal police officer in Washington, D.C., it doesn't matter at all what your background is. But then another part of the investigation is the background and maybe what the motivation was for violence. And that might go to some of these other crimes that I'm talking about, such as seditious conspiracy or the inciting a riot. And that will play out in the near future. It sure is helpful when these folks went into the Capitol and took photographs of themselves and then posted it. I mean, that's very helpful to the FBI. Thank you very much.
It saves some resources. That's perfect.
Right, exactly.
Look, I think unfortunately the situation turned out to just turned out to be ugly. It turned out to be sad. I mean, I kind of talked about it yesterday. I went through the range of emotions watching it. You know, from my home, I was, confused and concerned, and then I got angry, and then I settled on sad, and I'd love to just in the next, 30 seconds or so, just kind of give me your thoughts on what happened.
Well, I was thoroughly disgusted by it. I found it to be horrifying, and I've required our children to watch it. Get out here and watch what's going on. This is not the way we act. It is completely okay to have disagreements. It's okay to have disagreements about politics. We can disagree with each other in the classroom and in the workplace. And teachers and employers and everybody should honor and respect the ability to have disagreements. But those disagreements should never, ever amount to violence. And when they do amount to violence, then you could be looking at state, local, or federal criminal charges.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate all the way around. Good stuff. Matthew Schneider, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. We always appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Stay safe and stay healthy.
All right, 9:43 off to the roadways we go. Check things out with Dana Clark.
Just mainly looking at construction out there. Another project has popped up blocking your right two lanes along M5 northbound between 12 Mile and Pontiac Trail. That's scheduled to be there, that slow-moving maintenance vehicle, until noon today. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Quite a bit overcast into the early afternoon, a gusty breeze, and maybe some sunshine trying to get in here as we get into the afternoon hours. And probably going to hold temperatures around 34. Some clouds tonight, 24. Suburbs a little bit colder. Cloud sun tomorrow, 39. Sunday, mostly cloudy, 35. Royal Weather Channel. I'm meteorologist Ray Staging on News Talk 760 WJR.
Know your risk factor for heart attack and stroke. Tune in Sundays at 3 to News Talk 760 WJR to hear about the latest diagnostic technology from Dr. Brian Collender.
Hello and welcome to Spotlight on the MEDC. I'm your host, Ann Thomas, and joining us today from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is Dave Lorenz, Vice President of Travel Michigan. Dave, welcome to the show.
All right, let's see here. Try to get to a couple more here. It's not being a Democrat, Adam says, to bring balance. Paul tends to be like Rush, not as bad as Frank, which is to say they're right bias, and the news that they get sometimes come from that direction. Guy seems to get it from all sources. I think they're all Republican, but some do us a better service like Guy, who tries to keep us out of the echo chambers we seek to be in, compared to others who seem to run with some conspiracy. Look, I just think that at the end of the day, common sense wins. At least that's what it is for me. Common sense. It's just common sense. That's it. When you can be a fan, or when you can be a supporter, or when you can be somebody who is really into something, it's okay to sometimes say, oh, I didn't like the way that happened, or I didn't like the way you did that. I didn't like the way that legislation was written on. But that doesn't mean that you have to throw in the whole towel. It's okay. It's okay to be objective. It's okay to just use the common sense that you have. That's all. I can't wait for these people to be charged with Trump's 10-year jail time executive order for monument or federal buildings. Well, I guess I don't know if the buildings were involved. I remember the the statues, but I don't remember the federal buildings. Either way, I don't think that's going to be happening. But we'll see. 800-859-0957. There's the number right there. Right. Nick, you were talking about what were we talking about this morning? Movies.
Movies. The most
movies.
rewatchable movie. Because you said, I quoted the Remember the Titans.
Oh, tremendous film.
Is probably my most rewatched movie.
Yeah, I like a lot of is another good one that I watch like for constantly. I mean, constantly was Step Brothers with John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell. Just a tremendous.
That's on a lot is Wedding Crashers that I'll watch a lot.
I never got into Wedding Crashers.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not a big fan of what's his name? The tall one.
Vince Vaughn?
Vince Vaughn.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a big Vince
I
Vaughn.
say Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson, I think.
I'm definitely not a Owen Wilson guy, but I'm definitely not whatever his name is. So I don't know. He's the exact same character in every movie.
Yeah.
You've seen him once, you've seen him all.
You can say the same thing about the guys in Step Brothers.
No way.
Yes.
No way. At least not John C. Reilly. Maybe Will Ferrell, but not John C. Reilly. Oh, Roadhouse, Rob says. Hey, Rob, what's going on, man? Yes. Roadhouse is a
Listen
solid.
to Solve wherever you get your podcasts. The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
Oh, little Tom Sawyer for this Friday. Okay. I see you, Jason. That's good stuff. All right. 800-859-0957. Still more to come here this morning on the Frank Beckmann Show. We're going to talk to former CIA about this situation involving solar wind. You've heard about this. This is that huge, hacking attempt that got into, I don't know, pretty much everywhere. And we're going to talk about how deep it goes and if there's been any movement on if this has been snuffed out in terms of where it came from. Anyway, we'll get to that coming up at 10:05. In the meantime, let's get back to your phone calls. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Let's go to Tom in Brighton. Good morning, Tom. Hey, what's up, Tommy?
Well, the one thing I wanted to bring up was I think both sides of the aisle are extremely upset.
Yeah.
And that's been obvious through the different riots in different places. The biggest thing I think we're seeing right now is we used to call people in Congress public service. I don't believe it's public service anymore. I think it's a personal service. None of those people come out there poorer than when they went in. They come out much, much, much richer. Unlike your police, fire, and EMS, where it's a public service and they make a living. These people come out millions and millions of dollars richer at the expense of us.
Yeah.
And I don't believe they work for the people. I believe they work more for themselves, and keeping us divided just protects their job even more.
Yeah, no, you know what, Tom? It's a great point. And it happens on both sides. This isn't a one side or the other. This is oftentimes this is beneficial to them. If not, and here's the thing. If it's not just about the money, they do wield an incredible amount of power. And I think you're right. I think there has to be I don't always know that it's malicious necessarily. Like I don't want to go around saying that all of our representatives are, maliciously trying to just steal money from us, right? They just want to go and collect $175K for 2 years or 6 or whatever. But I just think that I don't think it's malicious all the time. I just think that's what it is. That's the default role that you end up taking. And you're right. It's dangerous.
And it's not even the amount that we are paying them. I think they should be paid a decent amount of money because of the job we're asking them to do. My issue is more with are the side deals that happen. I'm going to get a bill passed, and I'm going to make sure you get the contract.
Right.
And things like that. We've seen that over and over and over again. Where if you work for the lottery, your family can't win the lottery.
Right.
If you work for Congress, my family can get the contract.
Sure. That's a good point, Tom. Yeah, it's a good point. That is a flaw in our system. And I don't know, again, let's reach out to your representative and tell them how you feel. Like this is how hopefully we can further our discussions. We can do it through our representatives. We can at least try, right? That's what we can do. Tom, good call. Thank you. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Joan in Farmington. Good morning, Joan.
Hey, sorry, I had to get off the speaker. I just wanted to go back to Tim's call and totally agree with him. I noticed this. My husband noticed this yesterday. We were so saddened by WJR yesterday. I'm surprised I'm listening again today. You were so one-sided yesterday. I called in several times to give my opinion, and all of the calls, who was female, said, "Thank you, I'll let Chris know," and hang up. "Thank you, I'll let Kevin know," and hang up. I was actually waiting for Mitch. I was wishing Mitch, because, Mitch usually was liberal, but he's more come to the middle of the road and is actually one of the ones on there that lets both sides and actually gives Trump the chance. But yesterday I wanted to bring up, what about these lawyers that, they sit there and say, "We're going to look at videos." Are you on? Am I on?
You sure are. I'm just hearing you out.
Okay. I was surprised I wasn't interrupted yet, but usually that's Guy Gordon who interrupts.
All right.
But,
So what's your point, Jim?
Anyways, my point is they want to look at videos and they want to catch all these protesters, but they didn't. Are they looking at the videos from the summer? It's amazing on social media that people from the left are saying no cities were burned down, no businesses were burned down. And that's because the media doesn't let that out. And then they sit there and say that they want us to all come together and that they're upset that Republican leaders who didn't call them out. And I don't agree with what they did. I don't agree. But they didn't call them out last summer, the Democrats. Actually, Harris bailed out so-called protesters.
Correct.
From
So,
jail.
Joan, can I let me respond now. Let me respond, because I think there's an important point to be made here. I assume you listen. You said you listen to us pretty frequently, right? So you listen to Frank, for example.
And I love you. I want you to replace Guy Gordon. I actually contacted WJR this week and said, please replace
Well,
Guy Gordon.
I don't want to play.
Actually, he's gone to the left. And he's not allowed.
Look, I appreciate that. That's very nice. Guy does a good job. But here's the thing. Is what they do, like what Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, we don't have any control over. If you've listened to this show, if you've listened to Frank over the summer, we talked about what was happening ad nauseum, and it was disgusting what was happening. It was disgusting that people were burning down their own cities. Or even worse, people were coming in from out of town and burning somebody else's city. It was disgusting. It was disgusting when small businesses were being burned down, that people couldn't get into their homes because people were occupying blocks of a city and they weren't allowing law enforcement or EMS or fire to get in to save somebody who had been shot. No, it's disgusting. Just like, what happened 2 days ago. Just like what happened when people stormed into the Capitol, it was terrible. It was disgusting. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. One isn't more right than the other, but we can't control what MSNBC puts out there. I can't control what Anderson Cooper says, even though he's a couple spoons short of a full drawer. I'm just saying, we can't control them. But when you come to listen to us, we're going to try to give you the best information that we can. And we're going to give you our opinions based on that information. So I'm sure you've listened to Frank. You know that we didn't condone what happened out in Portland or LA or Philly or Chicago. We spoke very strongly against it. Just like we have to speak strongly against when somebody
totally agree. You
breaks into the Capitol.
Can you please unmute me?
You're unmuted.
Chris?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. All right. I totally agree with you. That's why I listen to WJR, because you give both sides to the story. And even though people don't believe Fox News does, Fox News does. They have commentators from both sides. But this is what I'm saying. I was disappointed with yesterday because, like Tim said, replay your every single one. I didn't get a chance to listen to Paul W. Smith yesterday morning because I do work and I'm listening while I'm working. But all yesterday, if you replay every call, not one was given for the protester side. The media, you guys need to say a majority of those hundreds of thousands or million of protesters were peaceful.
Absolutely, they were.
But there were a few that were bad. And they need to look at, there's videos showing Capitol Police moving barricades, letting them in. Why were they using police shields? How did they get police shields to break the windows? Maybe
all very valid questions.
Why did Nancy Pelosi leave 10 minutes prior to this happening?
All valid questions. All questions, Joan, and I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much for listening. But those are all questions that I hope will be answered after investigators take a deep dive into this thing. Thank you. 800-859-0957 to the roadways with Dana Clark.
Just road work out there this afternoon, 275 northbound between 94 and M14. A slow-moving maintenance vehicle has a left lane closed until 5 p.m. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Lots of cloud cover to start, at least some peaks of sunshine later this afternoon. Still cold, a high of 31 tonight, a few clouds, your low 25. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in 2 minutes.
Let's face it, life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like celebrating Grandma's 50th wedding anniversary with close family.
Let's see here.
Yeah, can't do that.
Bring Nicholas into the fold. I don't know. Poor Joan. I don't know what she was talking about.
There's no female answering your phone calls.
Yeah, we didn't have a female answering our phone calls yesterday. But it could be an indictment on you, Nick. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Let's see here. My wife's movies would be all the Tremors movies. Tremors. I don't remember Tremors, really. I mean, I saw it, but I don't remember it. Unbelievable damage reportedly has been done in the hacking and may still be going on. Yeah, I think we have to. I mean, it's a huge story. It really is. Got it. Coming up.
Learn more at children.org/help.
My computer here that I do all my printing off of just lost all internet connection.
Just now.
Well, a little bit ago, yeah.
Maybe that's when you were muting Joan.
We didn't mute Joan.
I know.
I mean, Joan, look, I get where she's coming from, but I mean, we all are just trying to do the best we can, and we can't control what CNN does. We have no say there, just like they have no say in what we do. So we're coming on, we're giving you our thoughts after something that happened that was shocking. That's all. So our guest coming up is George Beebe.
Is he calling in?
Yes. Yes. And George Beebe, in addition to being a former head of Russia analysis at the CIA, he is a former advisor to Dick Cheney as vice president. So he's got a lot of insight into, what happened here with SolarWinds, and the hack, and where it came from, and really what this means going forward. So we'll try to get a comprehensive view on that, because it's scary stuff. I've been in touch with Senate Chair and House Leader. It's important to stay in touch. Absolutely. I too have noticed Mitch move toward the center, and I appreciate it. Let me see here. The problem with term limits is the problem wouldn't be solved. These parties are the ones who control our government, and they have a long-term view with long-term control. If you're a party member running and do not follow the leadership, then you're marked like a mosh, and you're primaried or defunded, and it put in place with one who the party wants, and the party sets the agenda based on special interest in the military-industrial complex. Yeah, interesting. Oh my God, she said Guy has gone left. The right has now become a you need to be as far right as me. Phil, I really would like to know, because of the yahoos at the Capitol, does that mean we will never hear the answers to the questions that Republicans have had about the election? What is the true story about the truckload of ballots coming from New York to Pennsylvania and the ballots that were under the table? Don't we deserve the answers to these questions? I mean, look, that all should fall on the states. The states are going to should be doing an audit, just like here in Michigan we should be. We talked to Jocelyn Benson earlier this week. She said they're going to be they're auditing underway. It's underway, so we'll see. I mean, I don't know. You know what all that means is to be seen, but. Sure. And it sounds like, based on at least the comments I heard when the Senate reconvened to confirm the electoral votes, that even a lot of the lawmakers in D.C. are going to be involved in getting answers from these states. So I would imagine if you have these questions, then they should be the ones to seek out those answers for you. Is it possible the callers were in agreement that the behavior was unacceptable and not looking at it as the left did? Sure, of course. Everybody can look at it differently. Joan is very frustrated. Sure, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Nick, your screen is too dark. Your screen's too dark.
I don't have the greatest camera on this thing.
I see. What about the TCF Center covering windows? You don't do this unless you're hiding. They said, I believe the Secretary of State says that the glass was breaking. That was the reason that we got. So you can take that for what it's worth. I haven't heard that from anybody else, especially anybody who was at TCF. But that's what they told us. So, so you're a Remember the Titans guy.
Yeah.
And then what do you have any other and then especially during like Christmas time, like pretty much a rotation of like Home Alone 2, Santa Claus.
Home Alone is always
Elf. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, those will all be in rotation.
Yeah. I watched Home Alone a few times.
Yeah.
An older movie that I was a big fan of when I was a kid was Hook.
Oh, Hook was fantastic.
I still watch Hook as well.
Do you? I haven't seen Hook in a very long time.
Yeah. I have it if you'd like it.
You have it on VHS.
Oh, no. Oh, but something we bonded over, though, was watching Band of Brothers.
Yes. I still haven't seen Band of Brothers, though.
Oh, and then I'm talking about Rich then. It was Rich.
All
right, never mind.
Yeah.
You
don't bond. Yeah.
Michigan.gov/problem gambling. Sponsored by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. One of the things that, again, has really kind of flown under the radar is this incredible hack of SolarWinds, the cyber intrusion, and the hacking of SolarWinds has led to hundreds of companies being hacked, essentially. And this code that was embedded and then just spread like wildfire. There's so many questions I have about it and what it means, and quite frankly, if we know who's done this and what's the purpose of doing it. There are a lot of implications here, and probably what I believe to be the biggest cyber attack or hack, at least in our history. But all of these questions can be answered by our friend on the line, George Beebe, the Vice President and Director of Studies at the Center for the National Interest. He's also a former head of Russia analysis at the CIA and a former advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. George, good morning to you.
Morning, Chris.
Thanks for taking some time with us. Tell me more about this SolarWinds attack. I mean, this seems to be incredibly invasive and incredibly widespread.
Well, we're still learning about just how extensive this is, but what we know so far indicates that this is indeed a massive attack and quite ingeniously orchestrated. And the sophistication of the attack and the targets make us very suspicious that the Russian intelligence services are behind this. And what they did essentially was what's called a supply chain attack. They went into software that their targets actually and uploaded malware into that software so that when other users of that software updated it, then their malware automatically went into their target systems, and that allowed them to get into all kinds of networks as a result of that. And we're still learning about just how far they went once they got inside.
So the assumption is that the Russians are behind this, at least from intelligence officials. But do we know a reason why? I mean, it didn't sound like there's been an exchange of money. It doesn't sound like there's been an exchange of ideas. Was this just an attempt to see what they can do? Was this just a phishing attempt, or is there something more to it that we're not reading into?
Well, I think fundamentally what we're seeing is a public glimpse of a world that in past decades used to be secret. This is the way espionage is conducted in the 21st century. It's done largely through cyber means. And this goes on all over the world by all kinds of services. And it mixes two worlds that used to be separate. You know, the world of secret national security affairs and public, commercial and other operations. And it's very difficult to disentangle all those. So we got a glimpse of what that cyber espionage looks like when SolarWinds went public. Now, the temptation, I think, for most people is to say, oh, this is spies being spies. I get it. Move on. Nothing to worry about here. The problem is that modern cyber espionage not only blurs together the national security and private civilian worlds, it also blurs old distinctions between espionage and warfare. So when the Russian intelligence services get into our sensitive national security systems, they can use that access to get data, to get information, to learn about our capabilities and our intentions. But they can also sabotage those systems. They can destroy them using cyber malware so that when we press a button that's meant to, for example, run a turbine in a power plant, that turbine might suddenly not work and you lose power. And that has real implications for the functioning of our society. At the extreme, if they were to penetrate, for example, a command and control operating system for nuclear weaponry, we might not be able to launch a weapon when we press go. So that's a real revolutionary change in all of this, because we can't know the intentions of the other side just by detecting an intrusion into our system. They may have relatively ordinary information gathering intentions. They also may be putting in place the ability to sabotage our operations, and that's really an act of war. So these operations straddle those two worlds, and that's really dangerous. We need to figure out how to handle that.
So how do we counter that? Yeah, how do we handle that?
Well, we're still trying to work this out, and we've gone through some changes in our approaches to this. 10 years ago, we thought we may be able to thwart this problem by playing defense, by making it harder for our adversaries to penetrate our systems by getting better at detecting these intrusions and identifying who's behind it. That hasn't worked out very well. And so a few years ago, we said, well, we actually need to play defense by going on offense, by penetrating our adversaries' systems, getting inside their operations and learning what they're doing, learning their intentions, putting sensors in place that allow us to detect what they're doing, and also putting malware into their systems to hold their systems hostage, to deter them from setting off any malware bombs in our systems. And that's been our strategy for the past couple of years. Unfortunately, I think the SolarWinds attack suggests that this new, playing defense by going on offense approach hasn't had the deterrent effect that we had hoped. So I think what we're going to have to do is do some things that we haven't really been willing to do so far. One is diplomatic engagement, talking to the Russians and other adversaries about what the rules of this new game ought to be. Where should the red lines be drawn? What are we going to agree mutually is off limits? For example, voting systems. Cyber attackers can sabotage voting data. They can disrupt or distort the process of counting votes. We're not at this point convinced that anybody has done that yet, but there's no question that they have that capability technically. And this could have a disastrous effect on political stability in the United States or other countries. I think it's very much in our interest to talk with our adversaries about how do we put in place some mutually agreed guidelines so that we don't do that to each other. There's some other things as well that I think we need to be talking about diplomatically. And so far, we haven't thought that was something that was necessary. We thought that we could attack our way out of this problem, but I think the SolarWinds hack suggests that's not true.
Yeah, it certainly opens up a lot of it opens up a lot of eyes that by going on offense and hoping to be able to catch something like this and still it getting past is certainly eye opening and yeah, sure, maybe it is just sitting at the table and trying to figure this thing out diplomatically, and that's certainly a good point. George, we appreciate the time so much. Let's keep this going and keep us up to date on the latest here and what's been developing.
All right, be happy to.
Yep, you got it. George Beebe, Vice President and Director of Studies at the Center for the National Interest, former CIA and former advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. All right, more on the Frank Beckmann Show coming up at 10:14. Though we do have to head on out to the roadways. We'll check things out with our Dana Clark. Dana.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Traffic First sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the best place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com. M5 northbound between 12 Mile and Pontiac Trails. Slow-moving maintenance vehicle has your right lanes blocked, 2 of them at least until noon today. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Primetime Testing Laboratory. In need of testing that automotive project, Primetime Testing Labs are the industry's best in complete automotive testing services. They guarantee on-time delivery, accurate result reporting, and are a 2LA accredited for your automotive project. Get a free quote at primetimetestinglab.com. That's primetimetestinglab.com.
A little breeze out of the northeast will make the low to mid-30s feel a little chillier this afternoon. May try to sneak some sunshine in here, partial clouds around. Some clouds tonight, 24. Cloud sun tomorrow, 39. Sunday, mostly cloudy with highs in the mid-30s. From the Weather Channel, meteorologist Ray Stagik on News Talk 760 WJR.
Let's see here. Jerry, as a cybersecurity guy, this is a great and important interview. It's important that the public understands how problematic this is. I agree. I wanted to make sure that we found the right person to talk about this with you and give you the information. And I think George was the right guy. I mean, just an incredibly intelligent and insightful man, obviously having been involved in the CIA and involved directly with what the Russians have been doing. He's been keeping an eye on Russia for a long time. And so, it is important. And obviously it's important. It's important for a lot of reasons because the possibility of at least somebody hacking into a network like SolarWinds and then SolarWinds, spreads out to everybody else. It's certainly troublesome because, if they can get into something like that, they can probably get into just about anything. And the SolarWinds, the trickle down and everything else it goes to is, I mean, it's universities, it's businesses, it's hospital. I mean, it's everything. And so, can they get your information? What do they do with your information? It's frightening. And so, and then you start amping it up and talking about on the macro level about all of the like George kind of talked about, like our missile defense systems. If somebody launches something at us, we have to be able to respond. And yeah, it's very frightening, very scary.
Recruiter.com/free.
How did we ever come to the belief that we have no control over the inevitability of heart attack or stroke? That it was somehow predestined in our genes, inherited, or inevitable due to some random chance that outsmarted the medical field? We've come to accept these two fallacies, but the fact is that heart attack and stroke are 100% preventable, and cardiac disease is reversible. It's not in the genes, it's in your profile. It's time to take charge of your health. Call Dr. Brian Collender at 866-KOLENDER.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. That's the number 482. Call and text. This SolarWinds thing is crazy to me. And I think George did a great job in helping get this information out there, because it's not just about, hacking into a bank or hacking into a store or hacking into a business. This is wide scale. It goes all the way up to the federal government. And it literally is, throwing in malicious software to see what they can get away with. And this was a huge attack, the biggest in our country's history in terms of a cyber attack. And it's terrifying to think like, yeah, they'll just shut down a grid. Or they'll just, disable our defense mechanism. So if somebody, decides to throw a bomb our way, we can't even defend ourselves. It's very scary. So it's a huge story. The SolarWinds story is a huge story, and we will keep an eye on it and give you all the latest when we can. All right, 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Let's go out to Troy and talk to Gary. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
Yeah, I just, I listen to WJR a lot, almost as much as Mr. Positive. Love you, brother. And you know what? Listening to him earlier talk about, so Trump supporters. Now we're a cult, Trump voters. And you know what? I'm tired of being vilified.
Yeah.
I want to speak out for all the Trump voters and supporters that, just tired of being vilified. And I had some family members on Wednesday night that are big liberals and big Democrats. And, you'd think it was me running through the Capitol personally, the way I was attacked. And the minute I tried to speak up, I get attacked.
Well, that's not right. I mean, again, right? It's just common sense. Not everybody is the same. Not everybody acts the same way. Not everybody is the same way.
Well, I can remember it was about 3 weeks ago. There was a caller when the militia was in the news trying to do what they were going to do to the governor. Mm-hmm. And a caller called in to WJR and said, you know what, all the Trump supporters, all the Trump voters, they're all the same. They're just like that. They support that kind of thing. And they should all be taken to task. How can you possibly vote for that man? They can't separate themselves from the hatred, from the policies. There's a lot of people that like his policies, but people don't want to dump. They want to dump their hatred of Trump onto us.
We took a caller earlier this week, Gary, who said voted for Trump back the first time back in 2016. But then this time voted for Joe Biden. And I said, okay. I said, why didn't you vote for Donald Trump again? He said, I just couldn't stand his attitude. Couldn't stand the way he acts, the way he tweets. I couldn't stand any of it. I said, okay, fine, fair enough. I said, what'd you think of his policies? And he said, A-, B+, A-. And that was interesting because then you just can't separate the fact that his policies are something you agree with and are in your mind good, as opposed to what he does on Twitter. And that's fine. That's your prerogative. You get to vote. But it was an interesting screenshot into at least this gentleman. And no, I just don't think it has to be an all or nothing. You can like things he does. You can hate things he does, but you can still support him. You can absolutely detest some of the things he does or says. But if you like his policies, that's you. That's your prerogative. That's your perspective. Thank you for the call, Gary. I appreciate you. 800-859-0957. Let's go to George. Where's George from? I lost him. Let's go to George. Is George there? Hey,
yeah,
George.
I'm here.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, Chris. Do you know what a dino is?
A dino?
Yeah, D-I-N-O.
I not off the top of my head.
Not a dinosaur, no. Well,
Yeah,
you know what a rhino is, right?
A what?
Rhino.
Oh,
Republican.
Rhino. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So Democrat name only. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Where are they? See, you talk about this cult thing. They march. It's projection, accusing your enemy of what you do. All right, we're a bunch of mind-numb people that don't think for ourselves. Donald Trump said it. I must believe. No, the Democrats do that. When do they have people like Romney or McCluskey or Collins or Sass or all the people that jump ship as rhinos? When did how many Democrats said, can you name one Democrat senator that said, no, I'm not going to approve this bogus, impeachment to remove Donald Trump? No, you don't. They all march in lockstep. All right.
The closest was probably Joe Manchin.
Because he's from West Virginia, and because of the coal thing, so he pretends to support, Donald Trump sometime.
Yeah.
But that's why he does it, for plausible denial.
But but your point is made, George. Yeah, there aren't many.
All right, now let's go on to one more thing, Chris.
All right.
So what was the reason Joe Biden got into, the race that he says?
Because of Charlottesville.
Right, and that's all I heard yesterday from guests on WJR and the day before. This is one of Frank's pet peeves that he's played many times, which you're probably the one that has played it, that he said, I'm not talking about very fine people. I'm not talking about the Nazi, the white supremacists, the KKK. They're to be condemned totally. So I constantly hear that. Now, here's the irony of it, the hypocrisy of it. So when you see Joe talk about this, he goes into like zombie mode, like, yeah, you can see their veins bulging in there.
Yeah. He had a whole line picked out.
Yeah, he has a whole line like it's they push a button and he's like a zombie. And then he says, here's the kicker, Chris, spouting the rhetoric of 1930s Nazi Germany. Well, what was that rhetoric, Chris?
I don't know. You go ahead. Yeah. What's your point?
The rhetoric was hate the Jew, kill the Jew. The Jews are the problem. Anti-Semitism. All right. So now you know about Raphael Warnock, whatever, the pastor from the Ebenezer Baptist Church that Martin Luther King pastored.
Correct.
Now he's been voted in. All right. Correct. Are you aware of what this guy is like?
I'm familiar with a couple of things he said. Yeah.
All right, he's a total anti-Semite. He loves Louis Farrakhan. He says America has to repent of worshiping whiteness, all this stuff. The police are terrorist thugs. The U.S. has a worse human rights record than Iran.
All right, so George, what's your point? Where are you getting with this?
My point is, Joe Biden lied. He based his whole thing on a lie. He said the Atlanta thing of suckers and losers was confirmed. It never was. So Joe goes down to campaign for this guy that's an anti-Semite. He's a racist. He's a hater of America. He's a hater of the police, hater of the military. He changed the words of Jesus in the Bible. You can't serve God in the military. No, Jesus said you can't serve God in mammon, which means the worldly riches and lust or whatever. So he goes and he campaigns.
All right, George. Hey, I'm sorry. I got to run. I'm up against it. I appreciate the call. Thank you. 800-859-0957. Off to the roadways with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on interviewing people with the right skills. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Just talking construction today, 94 Service Drive westbound between Townsend Street and Franelac Street. That left lane is closed until 3 p.m. today through today. That is wrapping up. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. At least we get some sunshine this weekend. Clouds right now, peaks of sunshine later, a high of 31. Tonight, a few clouds. Your low 25, partly cloudy on Saturday and a high of 38. All clouds on Sunday, hitting 34. Still cloudy skies out there, 28 degrees. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in 2 minutes.
All right, let's see here.
Welcome to Spotlight on the.
Let's add Nicholas. I had run my car out of gas just before getting to work at 5 Mile in Sheldon.
The community
I
development.
left work not knowing everywhere was affected. Couldn't get the gas because of the situation. Ended up strapping on my rollerblades and rolling between cars on 275. Made it a couple miles before my dad rang, told me no work, and then he came and got me from 8 Mile Road. He still talks about what a loyal employee I was. That is an incredible story, Adam. That's amazing. What were you doing? What was your dad? Your dad owned the business, I take it. That's incredible. What a story that is. Wow.
Chris,
yeah.
I got some.
We got breaking news.
Some not breaking news.
It's breaking news. Robert Saleh is the new coach
regarding
of the Lions.
The Michigan football Wolverines.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's hear it.
To a report.
A report.
This is from a senior SEC football reporter.
Okay.
From a website I've never heard of. He looks legit.
Okay.
But he's not Bruce Feldman or anyone.
Okay.
Michigan is targeting Ravens linebacker coach Mike McDonald for its defensive coordinator job. Currently working with John Harbaugh.
Correct. Okay, so that would be the connection, the
Yep.
John Harbaugh connection. So that's Ravens linebacking coach.
Yep. Now, according to Sam Webb from Ann Arbor, he says, I think their interest is legit. I don't know if it's as the sole coordinator or that he's being targeted versus Jim just showing interest. But I believe this to be a legit name.
Interesting. Well, the report now, or at least I saw the report late last night that said that Jim Harbaugh was close to an extension with Michigan.
Yes,
a
pretty
5-year
pay cut.
Yeah, 5-year. Well, he's getting half. He's getting half his pay cut. 5-year, $4 million a year. But if he meets his incentives, it's a pretty incentive-laden deal. Like if you win the Big Ten East, if you win the Big Ten, if you make it to the college football playoff, or if you win the national title,
Yeah.
those are all the incentives that he's got to hit.
What about
And
beating Ohio State?
I'm sure there's other ones like beating Ohio State, beating Michigan, but those are probably smaller numbers, right? Like the big ones that get you to where you
I
need
don't
to
have
go.
beating Ohio State be a big incentive.
It would definitely be, but I just mean like if you make it to Indy, it's probably a bigger incentive. Or if you win the Natty, it's a bigger incentive. But yes, certainly beating Ohio State is
And if
probably
you win the division and make it Indy, and go to the national championship, chances are you probably already beat Ohio State.
Correct. So maybe those are bigger numbers than I think. Either way, those all would have to total, because it sounds like the report is that they would all kind of get him back to that $8 million a year. But it sounds like he's close to signing it. So it sounds like Jim Harbaugh is coming back to Ann Arbor for at least the foreseeable future.
And the smaller buyout.
And the smaller buyout as well, which is interesting. Because the buyout before was pretty cumbersome, even for a place like the University of Michigan. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's interesting. I don't really know that name. I'm trying to think of some of the linebackers that they've got on Baltimore. And you would probably know a little better than me. Adam, yeah, my dad taught CAD and I helped, and I was a designer during the day, doing CAD Northville. Interesting. Very cool. Pat, yeah, that's cool. Went to school for CAD at Washtenaw Community College. Got a job doing CAM before I graduated. Cool. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. So big news coming out of Ann Arbor. We'll see, again, for you Wolverines fans. We'll see how this plays out. Donald Trump has tweeted this morning. The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. So that's from the president here this morning. Also, looks like Governor Whitmer will be speaking today at 1:30. Looks like to give us an update on what's going on. So perhaps we'll get some answers on whether or not this 3-week pause that started in the middle of November will continue. I anticipate it will not, because the numbers sure just don't bear it. But we'll see. Also coming up here in just a minute, we're going to talk to Professor Alan Sachs about, just what's going on in D.C. And hopefully he'll be able to provide us some good information. So we'll get to that coming up too.
Your free account with a $100 signing bonus.
Must be 21 and over and present in Michigan. Bonus issued a non-withdrawable site credit that expires 7 days after FanDuel goes live in Michigan. $100 is distributed as $50 site credit on each of Sportsbook and Casino. Unique user ID verification required. Offer ends on go live day. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help.
Hey guys, 4-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty here. 2020, thank goodness, is behind us, but we have to prepare for 2021. So as the Christmas season leads into the new year, we all enjoy winter, getting outside. The snow's coming. We want to be outside making snowmans. We want to be outside riding toboggans, riding sleds, doing all this stuff with the family, but we can't if we're in pain. What are you going to do? I have a solution. Pain Free Life Centers in Troy. Make them your first choice, not your last resort. High doses, high intensity laser treatment at the cellular level. No injections, no needles, nothing like that. What a great way to start out 2021. Make Pain Free Life Centers your first option, not your last resort. You'll have nothing to lose but your pain. Call 248-879-1100. 248-879-1100 or visit painfreelifecenters.com. Tell them D-Max sent you.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR, the number for you to call or text. And the president has tweeted this morning, and I want to read this to you. The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. That from the president this morning. In the meantime, the president has said that there will be orderly transition on January 20th, now that the Electoral College results have been certified. Helping us break it down is political science professor out at the University of Texas in Arlington, Professor Alan Sachs on the other end of our line. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning, sir.
So now that the electoral votes have been certified by Congress, what do we see now? What are the next steps, especially now that the president says there will be a transition of power come January 20th?
We just have to wait it out. And the inauguration is January the 20th. I think they're already putting the scaffolding up for that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it may be virtual, but I think a lot of it will be in person. And I think the most interesting thing, will President Trump attend, and will they welcome him? I think if he does, that would make it a very interesting ceremony. President-elect Biden yesterday did not make a very gracious speech. I'm waiting for him to become Abraham Lincoln, or after the Civil War, and these two things are not comparable, I understand that. After the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln welcomed the Confederacy back in, say we're friends, we're all of the same nation, come back in. Well, President-elect Biden was not that way last night. He was not gracious at all. He was very combative and said some mean things. So it's not just President Trump that I think has to do some gracious things. It is President Biden as well. And so far it's been lacking. But I think if everything clicks, we can have the inauguration and get on with the government. One thing that's bothered me a lot during this period is that how our enemies are looking at us, talking about Iran, China, Russia perhaps, and terrorism in general. I think that America needs to present itself as a unified country. And so far, it's not quite there yet.
Professor Alan Sachs in the Political Science Department at the University of Texas in Arlington with us this morning here on the Frank Beckmann Show. And I think you kind of took the words out of my mouth for the next question, because having that unified front is so important, especially on the world stage. But now that this thing is really headed towards January 20th, now full steam, is it important for the president to be there, whether or not President-elect Biden really wants him there? Is it important for him to be there just to provide that unified front?
I think it is, but you make a good point. Whether or not President Biden will want him there is another story, and how he'll be received by the rest of the crowd. But I think it's important that he do that, and that everybody receives him with a great deal of cordiality, and that President Trump appears there in a cordial and gracious way. We need that very desperately. Abraham Lincoln, I know I'm going back a long time, but Abraham Lincoln is now well regarded for doing those kind of things. He stayed in the hand of friendship, and if he could do that at the end of the Civil War, we can do that at this time in our history as well.
What do you anticipate now out of the upcoming administration? Where do you think they go? Obviously, Joe Biden has talked a lot about what he plans to do in his 100 days, and it's not a surprise that presidents-elect talk about what they're going to do in their first 100 days, but he's got quite a list of things he wants to accomplish. Obviously, COVID-19 continues to be atop of that list, but what are some of the policies that you anticipate seeing out of the White House over the first 100 days?
I would hope, but I don't think that they're going to happen. I would hope there'd be few of them. Already, the mayor of the District of Columbia has said that she wants the District of Columbia to become a state.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not the new administration will present that, and there's some dubious constitutionality about that. I think they need to go fairly easy. If I was advising President Biden, which I know is far-fetched, I would say go very easy, make friendships, make alliances, and then you can present your agenda. It does not have to be in the first 100 days, as Franklin Roosevelt, of course, did. It does not have to be that. We're not in a crisis yet. A lot of people, I think the media is trying to make it a crisis. It's not there yet. And if they just, and the media needs to downplay some of this as well. Everybody needs to take a deep breath, as the common expression goes, and then I think we can make it through. Then the President Biden can present his agenda after the country settles down a little bit. But I would urge him, settle down. You don't have to do it in the first 100 days or the first month even.
What do you expect? I got about 15 seconds here. What do you expect from some of the policies that are a little more radical in terms of the Green New Deal, Medicaid for all, or Medicare for all? What do you see? Do you see those types of policies taking hold at some point?
Somewhere down the line, yes. But again, like I mentioned earlier, I would hope that they be put on the back burner for a while.
Yeah.
But I don't know if AOC and Regina Tlaib and the squad, so to speak, is going to allow that. They're going to push President Biden way to the left, and they want it now. But if President Biden has a strong will about him, and if he's going to be the leader, he will tell them when those agenda items will come up. They don't tell him, he tells them. And I hope that will be very important. But we're going to see taxes increased, the statehood for the District of Columbia, maybe Puerto Rico, and a lot of other issues as well, the Green New Deal, but a lot of foreign policy things as well. We've got to make sure our allies are with us and that they're confident in where we're going. I think the Mideast peace process needs to be put on the back burner for a while. President Trump has done amazing things in regard to the Middle East. And so President Biden needs to calm that down, let it work its way on its own, and then maybe he can come in later on.
Yeah, no doubt. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Professor. Appreciate your time. Alan Sachs, University of Texas at Arlington, political science professor here on the Frank Beckmann Show. Appreciate your time. All right, off to the roadways we go. Check things out with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
Watch for temporary closures due to crews removing icicles. This is along 696 between Coolidge and Lasser. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Primetime Testing Laboratory. They offer complete automotive testing services, primetime guarantees, on-time delivery, accurate result reporting, and are a 2LA accredited. For your next automotive project, hire Primetime Testing Lab. Get a free quote at primetimetestinglab.com. That's primetimetestinglab.com.
Low to mid 30 should do it this afternoon. Breeze out of the northeast might make it feel a little bit colder. Clouds and mixed with some sunshine. Trying to get some sun in here anyway. Tonight, some clouds, 24, suburbs colder. Saturday, sunshine, clouds, 39. Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high of 35. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Staging on News Talk 760 WJR.
Lomas Brown here. When I was drafted by the Detroit Lions, the first thing I thought about was being able to take care of my family. And that would.
Let's see here. Carol, I hope our governor watches the inauguration virtual since she's always preaching don't travel. I would agree, Carol. It's a good point. We'll see. Unfortunately for her, she's like co-chair of his inauguration committee.
I was just called a very bad word by one of our callers.
Why?
I don't know.
What did you say to them?
Nothing.
Well, you should be nice to our callers, Nick.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't need to be causing trouble.
I try to stay out of trouble, Chris.
Yeah, I know you do.
This is the little factoid.
Okay, factoid.
On
our 1045 factoid.
Yes. The 5 oldest starting quarterbacks in the NFL are all in the playoffs.
Currently. 5 oldest current quarterbacks.
Starting quarterbacks.
All right. Well, Drew Brees is not starting, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to start.
Yeah. He played the past couple games.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's been back for a few weeks.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay. All right. So I missed that. All right. Good. Okay. So then you've got Tom Brady. You've
43 years old.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. He is going to play till he's 50. He's the best. You've got Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, So who am I missing here? Who am I missing? I don't know who I'm missing.
I know.
Well, yeah, you're looking at it. Well, Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
So that's 4. Who else would it be? Who else is in the playoffs?
It's a team that's in the AFC.
It's got to be Seattle. Russell Wilson.
No, AFC. Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, AFC. You said NFC. Ben Roethlisberger is ancient. That's true.
The first time 5.
Russell Wilson's got to be pretty old though now too.
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, he did.
He's got to be in his mid to late 30s.
No, he's 32 years old.
Oh God, that makes me sad. Oh boy.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR, the number 40 caller text. Governor Gretchen Whitmer will be speaking today at 1:30. I haven't quite gotten word on yet what we should be expecting, but we're digging around trying to see what we can find. It sounds to me like, or at least my hunch, my guess, and I have no information to back this up, but my hunch tells me that things are going to start opening back up here. That would be my guess. I don't know when exactly, but I would think sooner than later. I don't know that she can continue to sustain this anymore when the numbers just don't bear it out. So we'll see. But that's my hunch. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Detroit and talk to David. Good morning, David.
Hey, Chris. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I was in Florida when this happened. I had thought about going down there. I'm chair for the 13th District Republicans. I've got a lot of friends that went down there, all peaceful.
You mean down to D.C.?
In D.C., yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I got to tell you, I've been in on this game since 2007, going down the path of the policy wonk and, having those discussions like you talked about, making the changes, electing good people. I still believe in that process.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, over the years, I've gotten, as many Americans have, very cynical about what's going on in this country. And it's been going on for decades, Chris. This is not about Donald Trump. If people think this is about a speech, if people think this is about an election result, we know there's fraud that goes on in elections every year. Does it ever, amount to a change in one person getting elected or another? You can have that debate.
Well, and David, let me point this to you. We know there is fraud in every election. Do you know how we know? Because the Secretary of State in Georgia told us. He said 2 people who were dead voted. So right off the bat, I know there was fraud. I don't know to what scale and to what level, but I know there was fraud. He told me.
Sure, absolutely. But the larger point that I want to make is this. Until the mass media, until the majority of those who serve in government start to have the conversation about what led to what happened on January the 6th and be honest about it, this is only going to get worse. And I'm going to tell you why. This has been boiling over for years. Tens of millions of Americans from both sides of the aisle feel like their government no longer serves them.
Yes.
Not every member of Congress is a crook. We know that. But collectively, the body has about a 10% approval rating. That's not because of some policy disagreement. It's because the American public feels like they have been shafted by their own government. And our founders gave us a redress of grievance. They've given us a pathway. They told us that, to hold this republic would take people with faith, with courage.
Yes.
And revolutions are ugly. And I don't want to see people be killed. But I got to tell you, there were tens of millions of Americans I know that were symbolically watching what happened at the Capitol and cheering because of the utter angst that they have felt for decades about this government who now claims to care about the Constitution, who have systematically disregarded the Constitution and have sent our kids to war. They steal our money in taxes, spend it on the most ridiculous things.
Okay, then David, my question then is what should be done? Because the Civil War route is nonsense to me. It is. And I understand your frustration, and I understand other people's frustration that the government doesn't work for them. And that's what Donald Trump brought out in people. That's what enabled 75 million people to come out and vote for him. But my question then is, and this is what the Democrats have done a really good job with, like specifically Stacey Abrams, right? Getting people out to vote, getting people involved. So now the Republicans have to do the same. They have to get people to buy in. They have to get people to show up to vote, and they have to be able to get people involved with government. That's how you get this thing turned around.
Well, I've been at that for about 13 years now. Well, and
that's great.
We've made little changes here and there, but collectively, there's a bigger Leviathan at work inside of D.C., whether you want to call it the deep state, behind the scenes, the man behind the screen, whatever you want to call it. It's bigger than all of us. And we just, collectively as Americans, we just don't have the time. We've got families. We've got our own, problems in life to try to get underneath the scenes and try to identify who the real culprit or what the real culprit is in all of this, because you can elect all the Justin Amashas and all the Rand Pauls and all the whatever you think is principled, okay? But they're just far and few in between. And I don't want civil war. I don't want a revolt, but the revolt is here. And it's I'm sorry, Chris, but until these folks in D.C. and the media start leveling with us, it's only going to get worse, and it's really going to get ugly. And I hate to say that, but I think of that movie V for Vendetta. I think of the end of it when they blew up Parliament. I mean, I don't want to see that. I'm not advocating for that.
Yeah, no, I got you, David, and I appreciate the call. God, I hope that's not the case. I mean, honest to God, that is not the way that this should be running. Not the way this should be going. So that to me is, I really struggled to wrap my head around that. That to me is foreign. I think the way that this gets done is you get involved. This is how it gets done. You get involved. You go out, you become you go out and do your best to be in the community and talk to people, and then that's how you get your support. And then you get the backing of a party or whatever, but to be involved. The Democrats want you to be in, they want their people to be involved at the ground level. They want you to be a city commissioner, a township commissioner. They want you to be involved at the very bottom level. And that's what the Republicans need to do now. They need to get involved from the bottom level up. They need to get people excited. They need to get people engaged. And it's tough. And now, I mean, we've taken calls this week and people saying, look, we're out. We're done. This is nonsense. We're out. We're not voting anymore. We're done. But that's not what they need. It's not what the party needs. The party doesn't need more of that. 800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. That's the number for you to call or text. All right, coming up after the break, we just got word here a couple of minutes ago. Will Donald Trump be at the inauguration on January 20th? We now have an answer. And I'll give that to you coming up at 11:05. But now we've got an answer. And I'll tell you coming up. 800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. More of your calls and texts coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. But first, got to check things out on the roadways with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
Temporary closures, crews on the scene removing icicles. This is along the Ruther 696 between Coolidge and Lasser. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, expecting it. Sunshine today, still cold though.
Chris.
Yeah.
What do you have your weekend plans? You're so excited for Friday. What are you going to do this weekend?
I got some work to do, so I'm going to do some work. I am probably going to sleep. Going to hang out with Jake.
Work around the house, or
I
like
got some work to do. Yeah, so I'm going to do that, but I'll probably try to do most of that today. I was going to take a nap, but I'm not going to take a nap now.
No, not on Friday.
No.
So, question.
Yeah.
Tonight will be Alex Trebek's final episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I will be recording it.
Okay.
I probably won't be watching it live, but I will be recording it. Yeah. Boy, well, first of all, I thought his last episode was supposed to be around Christmas.
It was, and then they moved it back.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't crazy.
I think they the way it lined up. If they just played them all in a row, it would have been right before Christmas, and they thought, okay, it's probably not the best time to
highlight our guy,
highlight Alex Trebek, and
right
have the most people in front of their TVs.
Correct. Sure.
So they moved it back.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Cool.
Yes.
So yeah, I will be recording it, and I will watch it at some point this weekend, or at least the last part.
Yeah. The Final Jeopardy.
The Final Jeopardy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see. It's it's weird because it doesn't feel like he's gone because he's still on TV.
Yeah.
He's still hosting Jeopardy. It's very strange. It is. So I suppose the next round here is going to be a little weird. Now I've heard that what's his name?
Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings is going to be hosting.
Yep.
And then is Katie Couric also hosting?
I don't know. I haven't heard that part.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
I think they're trying a couple people out.
Here we go. Regarding our last conversation, regarding our 1045 news release.
Oh, yeah.
This is from Ian Rappaport on NFL Network. The plan is for Ravens linebacker coach Mike McDonald to accept the Michigan defensive coordinator job following the playoffs.
Wow.
McDonald spent time in college at Georgia, now heads back with Michigan.
Interesting.
So it's a little more reliable than our first report. But
yeah.
It's accurate.
Well, what else is interesting is that pretty much confirms the fact that Jim Harbaugh's coming back, right?
Yeah. I mean,
we haven't gotten confirmation on it yet, but that means Jim Harbaugh's coming back. If they're hiring a new defensive coordinator, they're not hiring a defensive coordinator without a head coach.
No.
So.
Yeah, so he went to Georgia.
He played at Georgia? He went to Georgia? Or he coached at Georgia?
He did. I don't know if he played at Georgia.
Okay. So he coached at Georgia. What did he coach at Georgia? What position?
He was a defensive grad assistant.
Okay.
And then it doesn't quite say the next couple of years what he did. I believe he's a linebacker coach, maybe.
Okay.
He has a LinkedIn. Someone look that up.
Say that again?
He has a LinkedIn account, so maybe that has more information.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he was just a GA at Georgia.
Interesting.
And then was a coaching intern, a defensive assistant coach, a D-backs coach, and a linebackers coach for almost 7 years with the Ravens.
Interesting.
So there's your Don Brown replacement.
I don't know anything about him.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Nope, never heard of him.
We are getting some more breaking news.
Wow. It's rolling in.
Fox News' website.
About Donald Trump?
About Donald Trump.
All right, don't say it. I teased it. We're coming back with it.
Crazy.
So there have been 3 well, here, I'll tell you what. We'll tell you guys. It looks like you already got the scoop. So Donald Trump ain't going to the inauguration on the 20th. He's not going to go. He's going to skip it. So there have been 3 presidents in the past that did not go to their successors' inaugurations. Nicholas, can you name all 3? Can you name one?
John F. Kennedy.
No.
Why? He was assassinated.
Well, he can't go to the inauguration then.
Exactly.
Okay, John Adams in 1801.
So, okay.
John Adams. He just picked everything up and went home. Nixon is interesting too, but I guess there really wasn't an inauguration because these guys, like somebody else took over. So there wouldn't be an inauguration. John Quincy Adams in 1829 and Andrew Johnson in 1869. Those are the 3.
By their own accord.
Correct.
Yes. So there have been more who haven't attended.
So, but again, like when JFK got assassinated, there was an inauguration. The VP took over.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's technically correct.
Yeah. So I guess it's who didn't go to their successors' inauguration.
Yeah.
That would be the proper way of putting it.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to clarify because it wasn't an inauguration, like you said.
Correct.
But
also, if presented the opportunity, would you get the COVID vaccine? Or are you skeptical?
I would get it.
You would get it.
Hi, Mike. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you?
I think so. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah. Now, my wife is going to have the opportunity to get it.
That's right.
Probably pretty soon.
Frontline worker.
I suppose technically, but not really.
In the medical industry.
He's in management, yeah. But yes.
Yeah, so I have a friend who works at a hospital who got the vaccine, but she's in accounting.
Really?
It's like she's on the accounting side of the hospital, but she got the vaccine because she works in the hospital.
Yeah. So she works in the hospital though. So she's got to go to the hospital.
I don't know that to be fact.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
But she works for the hospital system.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Play the Marketplace Minute or upward swings in indices in Europe.
The Marketplace Minute, a podcast and smart speaker briefing updated 3 times daily. Ask your smart speaker to play the Marketplace Minute. Listen on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your shows.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Start of the 11 o'clock hour here on the Frank Beckmann Show. Frank will be back with you Monday, back from vacation. So I told you we've got a decision from Donald Trump on whether or not he will attend Joe Biden's inauguration. And this from the president on Twitter. To all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. So he will not be there. And as we talked to Professor Alan Sachs down at the University of Texas, he says it's beneficial to have Donald Trump there to show unity, especially to our adversaries across the world. But Donald Trump is skipping out. He's not going. And which led me to ask myself, have there been presidents who didn't attend their successor's inauguration? And in fact, there has. I didn't realize this. So 3 presidents. The first was in 1801 when John Adams decided to skip out. Incumbent John Adams sought a second term, but he faced a powerful challenge from his own vice president, Thomas Jefferson. Worse for Adams, popular opinion had turned against his championing of a highly divisive Sedition Acts of 1798 that restricted the activities of foreign nationals and limited the freedom of speech of the press. So John Adams skipped it. Then, fast forward to 1829, John Quincy Adams, the son of John Adams, followed in his father's footsteps. And he did not go to the inauguration. Then, again, fast forwarding a number of years, up to 1869. Vice President Andrew Johnson succeeded the presidency after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. In turn, the new president committed himself to obstructing Congress at every step, and he did not go to the inauguration of General Ulysses S. Grant. And so those are the 3 that have skipped out on their successors' inaugurations, and now Donald Trump will also not go to the inauguration. And again, what do you think of that? I mean, I'm not surprised, especially when, this Congress tried to impeach him. I suppose they did impeach him, but they tried to remove him from office. He had lost some of his supporters over the last couple of days. So maybe he's just done. And I can certainly understand that feeling, but interested to know what you think. 800-859-0957. Let's go to Greg and Warren. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. I appreciate you taking my call. Sure. And thank you for allowing me to share your platform.
Mm-hmm.
Let me begin by saying I don't want to be labeled a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. I'm a human being.
Sure.
And what my message to you and the listening audience is simply this. The one thing that we are all guaranteed is right now. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. And what I'm simply trying to say is this. We are not our thoughts. We're dragging the past into the present. We're worried about what's going to happen in the future. And when we do that, we're robbing ourselves. We're robbing ourselves of this moment. Mm-hmm. And the present is a gift. That's a gift. My heart goes out to the entire nation and to the people in this country. We are the most civilized nation in the world, to my knowledge. And it certainly hurts, it hits at the core as to what's going on right now.
So let me ask you, Greg, if you were in charge of the whole damn thing, what would you do? How do we get out of this?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question, because obviously the incoming president, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, there's a lot on the table for them. And I've talked to friends, I've talked to coworkers. They say it's going to take 20 years to get out of this. But I think, again, it starts with the people. We're a democracy. We are certainly a democracy. And we, the people, are the government. We need to focus in. We need to be conscious, not unconscious. And I don't want to tear any scabs off, but what happened there at the Capitol, and I'm not making any excuses for anybody, but I don't believe that what they did, they were in their conscious minds. Mm. They need to stop worrying about what happened in the past. Life isn't fair. It's not fair for any of us. But you can't keep dragging that into the present now and worrying about what's going to go on tomorrow.
Yeah, I think
that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, I think it's a great. I think it's well said. I think it's a great thought. Because I think you're exactly right. And unfortunately, Greg, unfortunately, a lot of the people who have a big voice, a lot of the people who could be preaching that same thing don't. And those are the people that we really need to be preaching that message to. Or at least the ones that need to be saying it. And unfortunately they don't. They miss out on that opportunity. I think it's a great thought. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for sharing that. 800-859-0957. Let's go to I'll tell you what, let's go to Daniel in Franklin, Ohio. Good morning, Daniel.
Hey, good morning to you, sir.
Hey.
Touching on your last caller and the caller before, when I was a kid, I can remember waking up in fields with snow on me. I ain't looking for no sympathy. Waking up in abandoned houses with nothing to eat. Waking up in different states, with the police chasing me. And I don't want to get into that. But none of those things.
I don't think you want to get into that, no.
Yeah, right. None of those things hurt me as deeply as the way it hurt me to watch him hurt our president. And the only reason they wanted to hurt him is because he loved us. All this could have been prevented if they would have just let us come in and examine what we thought were fraudulent ballots. They shot a girl in the throat and killed her at the Capitol. They call them thugs. What I seen was a young girl and people pushed to the brink to where all they wanted was just a fair election. And it's taught in law school that the greatest evidence in the world is an eyewitness. They teach you right in law school. But we had, hundreds, thousands maybe, of people that testified under oath, under penalty of perjury. No judge.
Daniel, I gotcha. I totally understand what you're saying. And I'm up against it. I'm sorry, I got to run, but I totally hear what you're saying. It was a shame that what happened. And I hope that we can learn from it and move on. 800-859-0957. 11:14. Off to the roadways. Check things out with Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Just watch for construction out there along 94 eastbound Service Drive before Mount Elliott. Construction has that left lane closed until 3 p.m. today. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by the Construction Association of Michigan. CAM has been helping commercial and industrial contractors and suppliers grow since 1885. Now is the time to join. Join the most powerful network of construction professionals in the state, the Construction Association of Michigan. Learn more at buildwithcam.com. That's buildwithcam.com.
Quite a bit overcast into the early afternoon, a gusty breeze, and maybe some sunshine trying to get in here as we get into the afternoon hours. And probably going to hold temperatures around 34. Some clouds tonight, 24. Suburbs a little bit colder. Cloud sun tomorrow, 39. Sunday, mostly cloudy, 35. From Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ray Stagik on News Talk 760 WJR.
We've been waiting for COVID-19 vaccines to be developed. Now, waiting for them to get to us. But you can do more than wait. You have powerful ways to help slow the spread right now and protect your family and loved ones too. Here's how. Watch your distance. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't live with. It's risky to be indoors with them too. And of course, avoid crowds. Also, wear a mask. CDC reports masks protect the people who wear them and folks around them. And wash your hands using soap and water for 20 seconds. And do it frequently. Vaccines won't make COVID go away overnight, but they give us a real chance to finally overcome it. As long as we keep watching our distance, wearing our masks, and washing our hands.
Learn more about vaccines at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
To stay on top of all the things you need to know about investing, finance, and retirement, tune in to The Rich Paul Show, Saturdays at 9 a.m., Mondays at 7 p.m. here on WJR. That's The Rich Paul Show, Saturdays at 9 a.m., Mondays at 7 p.m.
Have you seen what's happening with the stock market? Record highs every day. How long can this possibly go on for? By the way, this is exactly what happened right before the 2000.com bubbles burst. Remember that? Protect your savings in retirement by putting them into something safe like real gold and silver. I'm not talking about gold or silver stocks, but into real gold and silver you can actually hold in your hands. How do you get real gold and silver? By calling the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-600-GOLD. Now, the Oxford Gold Group will teach you everything you need to know about owning real gold and silver. It's so much easier than you think. So call the Oxford Gold Group right now at 833-600-GOLD to get your free gold and silver investment guide. The Oxford Gold Group is the only gold and silver company that I trust, and you should too. Get the Oxford Gold Investment Guide today and learn how easy it is to have real gold and silver delivered to your home, or how to have real gold and silver in your retirement account. Call the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-600-GOLD. That's 833-600-GOLD.
How did we ever come to the belief that we have no control over the inevitability of heart attack or stroke? That it was somehow predestined in our genes, inherited, or inevitable due to some random chance that outsmarted the medical field? We've come to accept these two fallacies, but the fact is that heart attack and stroke are 100% preventable, and cardiac disease is reversible. It's not in the genes, it's in your profile. It's time to take charge of your health. Call Dr. Brian Collender at 866-KOLENDER.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Let's go to Ken in Livonia. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Chris. Yeah, I just wanted to call and comment regarding Donald Trump's decision not to attend the inauguration.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, when you look at the fact that it's a common practice, a encouraged practice amongst the socialists to deceive, to mislead, to promote completely false narratives. And since it's very clear, Chris, that the Democrat Party, with the help of all their allies, stole the election from the 75 million Donald Trump supporters, those of us that got out there and fought to get him into the White House, stole the election from Donald Trump. He's doing the right thing, Chris. I wouldn't go either if I was him.
All right. Well, I mean, that's fine. I appreciate the call, Ken. To me, again, when you start talking about the optics, like the optics of the worldview, like that's important. That is important. That's okay that elections are messy and they can be, they can be downright dirty. But at the end of the day, I mean, isn't that unity important? Or does it matter? Or do you not think it matters? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe nobody's fooling, Kim Jong-un. Maybe nobody's fooling Putin. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. But that's the news. Donald Trump ain't going. 800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. Let's go to, can we go to Dave in New Baltimore? How about Dave? Good morning, David.
How are you doing? Good
Hey,
morning.
what's up?
Just wanted to make mention, you asked the question earlier, what can be done? The first thing that needs to be done is getting liberalism out of the education system. They do not teach government to these students anymore, and as the generations are going on, they're getting more and more ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
It amazes me. People vote for names, and when they vote, they don't look at the people. They don't understand who they're voting for. They see a name they recognize, they vote for it.
No, you know what? That's a good point. And actually, I think they're, I mean, look, to me, I was always taught that it's important to do your due diligence as a voter in this country. I look at voting as it's a very big responsibility to go cast my vote. That's how I look at it. And so I do my research. I go in and I do a deep dive on every single thing that's on the ballot, because I don't want to go in there and vote for something that I'm not prepared to vote for. And I think that there needs to be some responsibility on behalf of the voter. And you're not off base here in terms of what's being taught, how it's being taught. I mean, there's no doubt that we've seen some of the shortcomings of our education system at almost every level. But at the same time, I think that people need to take some responsibility for themselves and understand that voting is a big deal. It's a big responsibility that we have. So there should be some due diligence done. Agreed?
Well, look at the fact that Dingles have owned that seat for 77 years. The Dingle family, it's amazing that people continue to create a hierarchy of government. And the answer to Trump going to the inauguration, he went in and tried to fight the system, and the system has fought back. And not only are they making sure that a Donald Trump never happens again, they want to thoroughly disgrace him. And it's outrageous. That's why people don't have any faith in the system at the moment.
Yeah. Interesting call, Dave. Thank you. I appreciate it. 800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. To Brownstown, or Brownstown, excuse me. Talk to John. Good morning, John.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
So the guy called about the president, well, we can only worry about the president, which I agree with a lot of what he said, and it was really articulate and well thought out. But at the present time, Democrats are still calling for impeaching Donald Trump, still calling for invoking the 25th Amendment of Donald Trump, while they talk out the side of their mouth about unity. Everybody knows what unity to a Democrat is. It's you giving up all your core beliefs and adopting theirs. That's unity to them. Now, yes, how did we get to this Capitol thing? How did people storm the Capitol? Why did they storm the Capitol? Well, let's see. They've seen a summer of love. They've seen cities get burned down. They've seen monuments get destroyed. They've heard that every single institution they know is going to get renamed. They never heard a Democrat stand up and condemn it. So people after a while think, well, hey, maybe I can get away with doing what other people do, because they're not going to condemn that.
Yeah, but I mean, look, the two wrongs don't make a right. Both are wrong. Both are wrong. I mean, we it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that both are wrong, and they are. And look, I understand people have lost faith in the system. I understand. I really do. I get it. And it's frustrating. But just because somebody else does something that we all know is wrong doesn't mean we should go also do something wrong. And I don't mean all. It's a select few. Because a vast majority of those people weren't violent. They didn't break into the Capitol. A huge majority of them. But some did, and that's wrong. And the people out in Portland who occupy, or Seattle who occupy, several blocks of a city, wrong. Should be prosecuted. What are you doing? People who burn down businesses should be prosecuted. What are you doing? It's all wrong. It's all backwards. None of that should be happening. So I get it. I get people are frustrated. I totally understand. But that's where, and this is where I contest that this is where the party needs to come. This is where they need to come from. They need to be in communities across this country, and they need to be trying to get people involved, trying to get people to run for office, trying to get people registered to vote. And that doesn't just belong to the Democrats. They don't have a patent on that. This is what I feel about Georgia. The same thing. What happened in Georgia? Why was there less of a turnout for Republicans at the beginning of January than there was at the beginning of November? You gotta be out there. You gotta get people involved. So again, I get it, frustrated, but people, this is where you have a voice now. This is where you can use your voice. Sure, you can use your voice via vote and elect representatives and senators, but you can also use your voice by trying to seek office, by trying to run for something. So yes, that is there. And I think the party needs to do a better job of it. 800-859-0957. We got the news with Marie coming up. I don't want to get any more nickel yell at me because I'm getting ahead of my skis here. So we got Marie coming up with the news, and we got Dana Clark checking our traffic situation right now here on WJR.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
It's a new year, but for kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
Chris, really just looking at construction. This is a new project in Dearborn, Michigan Avenue at Telegraph. That ramp closures is scheduled there for midday construction until 1 p.m. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel. Expecting some sunshine this afternoon. Still cold, the high of 31. Tonight, a few clouds, your low 25. Saturday, better day of the weekend. Partly cloudy, high of 38. All clouds on Sunday and a high of 34. Still looking at clouds out there, 28 degrees. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in 2 minutes.
This is Mike Donovan, host of Not Free America on Sundays at 5 p.m. right here on WJR AM 760 in Detroit. This weekend on Not Free America Radio, economic disaster looms as our GDP crashes. What does losing a third of our economy really mean? Meanwhile, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo takes quarantining travelers to a new extreme. And we talk facts about qualified immunity in the American police state. Join us Sundays at 5 p.m. right here on Not Free America Radio.
News Talk 760 WJR. Custom built for Detroit.
I have COPD, but that doesn't stop me from trying to make the most of every moment. So I take Yupelri, the first and only once-a-day nebulized COPD maintenance medicine to help me with 24 hours of better breathing. Yupelri is a prescription medicine for adults used to treat chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which includes chronic bronchitis, emphysema, or both. Yupelri won't replace rescue inhalers for sudden symptoms. Yupelri should not be used more than once a day. Don't use Yupelri if you have sudden breathing problems or if you've had an allergic reaction to Yupelri or any of its ingredients. Before using Yupelri, tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, including glaucoma, prostate, liver, bladder, or urinary problems. They may worsen with Yupelri. Stop taking Yupelri and immediately seek medical help if your breathing suddenly worsens, your throat or tongue swells, you get hives, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain while taking Yupelri. Common side effects include cough, runny nose, upper respiratory tract infection, headache, and back pain. These are not all the possible side effects with Yupelri. See our ad in Better Homes and Gardens. Call 1-800-796-9526. Talk to your doctor or visit Yupelri, YUPELRI.com to learn more. Once daily Yupelri helps give me 24 hours of better breathing.
The forgotten poor in need of healing wait for Mercy Ships, a floating hospital staffed by volunteers, heroes of mercy who donate their time to save lives. To learn more about Heroes of Mercy, go to mercyships.org.
WJR News Time, 11:31. President Trump announcing via Twitter today that he will not be attending the inauguration of Joe Biden on January 20th. In a tweet, the president said, "To all those who've asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. House lawmakers today honoring the Capitol Hill police officer who died last night from injuries sustained during the pro-Trump violent protests in Congress. Fox's Mark Meredith has the story.
The entire Capitol Police Department is offering its deepest sympathies to Officer Sicknick's family. He joined the department back in 2008. He had collapsed when he got back to the office after getting physically engaged with some of these rioters the other day on Wednesday. He had been in the hospital, and then as we've been talking about, he succumbed to his injuries last night. Most recently, he had served in the department's first responder unit, and now multiple agencies are now investigating how he died and, of course, who should be held responsible.
At least 4 other people died. 90 people were arrested during the demonstrations. And Chief James Craig today saying that he was watching the video of the violence at the Capitol, shocked at the lack of preparedness by police.
Certainly a lack of preparedness. I don't care what we call it, and I'm certainly not being critical of the men and women on the ground, those Capitol police officers. And I just want to take a moment and say that our prayers go out to the family of that fallen Capitol police officer who was struck in the head with a fire extinguisher by those domestic terrorists that converged on the U.S. Capitol building. And our prayers go out to the young lady who was shot.
Chief Craig speaking to Paul W. Smith. And 6 people from Michigan have been arrested in connection to the unrest at the Capitol. 1 Michigan man arrested on a weapons charge, 1 for unlawful entry, 4 others for violating curfew. U.S. Attorney Matthew Schneider.
All right, let's see here. I want to get to some of these comments. Learn from it and move on. Do you really not see the precarious nature of our country now that the election's been stolen? It's so much worse than something to learn from and move on. Well, again, learn from it and move on. Autopsy what happened and figure it out and move on. We can't just stay in this perpetual state. That's not what we do. Time goes. This is not standing still. This is how you get passed by. No. You have to move on. You have to figure it out. Look, I've heard a number of lawmakers say that they are going to seriously fight and push and scratch and claw for election reform. So fine, do it. If that's what's best here, then do that. I honestly think he would be a distraction and the mainstream media would focus on President Trump. It's probably best he sit this one out. They're not going to let the rule of law play a part in our country anymore. Learn from what? What good is it when the next elections will be fake as well? Well, how do you know that? You know it's going to be fake. The rule of law, they went through the legislative, or they went through the court system. They filed their grievances, they filed lawsuits, and nobody took it up. So what do you want to do? What should be done? What are the answers? We are now in a banana republic. It's not something you move on from. It's something that needs to be fought, unfortunately, in probably some very drastic ways. Weak words are meaningless. Okay, well, then I mean, good luck with that. That's not how this works. It's not how this works. I assume Pence will fill in. Unbelievable tune how he's been thrown under the bus after being a loyal foot soldier. You have to support Trump until the end, or you're just a Trumper in name only. A fool in Putin sounds like a bunk bed. It does. I didn't even mean for it to be that way, but it does. Fool in Putin. It sounds like a ska band almost. Nick's a big ska fan.
No, you're a big ska fan.
Alan Dershowitz has a podcast, and he believes that neither the 25th Amendment nor impeachment are proper for the situation. He would deny President Trump if they tried to impeach him. The left wants his legacy to be taken from him. Defend, not deny. Sorry, I bet Don Jr. runs in 2024. Maybe, sure. I mean, I suppose that's possible. Chris, it was not 2 wrongs that don't make a right. It was about 20 to 30 wrongs on one side with no consequences, and 1 wrong by Trump with supporters. I like, again, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's not, nothing is right. None of that is right. So whether it was, well, again, that's that media's prerogative. We had no idea what to tell you about that. That's not hands off.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957, 800-859-0WJR. Let's go to, how about we go to Super Resede in Detroit? What's up, Soup?
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Hey, I thought you weren't calling in anymore. What happened?
No, I said after the second week, the full second week of this year, I won't be calling in anymore. I'll only be available as a guest or a call-in guest.
All right,
or
fair
a video guest. But anyway, here we go. Let me say this. As far as Donald Trump, so it's 3 key points I want to get to. One is Donald Trump did it. he messed himself up because he could have possibly ran in 2024. And if he would have, told those people or made sure that they didn't go inside of the Capitol or, just, got, a little bit too riled up and too rowdy, if he would have made sure that they didn't do that, that would have bought him more time to count votes, to count more votes, and to recount votes and do things of that nature. So he just really messed himself up. He really did it this time. Now, as far as the him going to the inauguration, yeah, he shouldn't go to the inauguration. Him and Joe Biden might get into it. Of course he shouldn't go. I mean, it's the best thing.
They're not gonna get into it soon.
That's just common sense. That's common sense right there. Now, besides that, what can we do to fix this? First of all, the first things that we need to do is address the police problem, the immunity, the justice system, free Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, and others who have been clearly given way too much.
What happened to your boy, Kwame? What happened to him? I thought he was getting
what
out.
happened to him? He's about to get out of jail once Joe Biden frees him, because more than likely Trump is not going to do it because Trump is very bitter. But then if Trump want to get back at those people that say, hey, we don't want him to get out, and those are people that are pretty much with Joe Biden, or some of them are with Joe Biden, he will free Kwame, maybe. But other than that, Joe Biden's going to free him. Now, so we need to free him. And then the police have to be addressed. The police immunity, that has to be addressed in every single state. We have to get to those prosecutors. We have to get to those
there's no such thing as
and
police
all of those
immunity.
people who see clearly that the police have done wrong, and you want
There's no such thing as police immunity.
There was like the Jacob.
There is no such thing as police immunity. I don't know what you're talking about. What does that mean? I don't even know.
You know what
that
I'm talking about. I think it's I might be pronouncing it wrong, but I'm talking about when the police gets off almost like scot-free and they don't have any charges, or not. Let me see. They can't be financially held reliable.
What are you talking about? If there's an incident involving police, they're investigated. They go through the proper channels. If they don't find any wrongdoing, then what would be the
What
point?
do you mean? Because listen, that's the problem. It's too many people not finding, or it's a few people not finding wrongdoing when it's clear. Like,
Well, just because you don't like the outcome doesn't make it any different.
Jacob, what just happened with Jacob? Remember what happened to him? This guy that just got shot by the policeman, they were found not guilty.
Okay.
Of
After an investigation.
So what? It's the wrong. Listen, it was the wrong outcome, and you and I both know it.
Okay, hold on. So, let me ask you one question, real quick. One question.
Yeah.
This will be an important question if we continue our call here or not, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Were you involved in the investigation?
Of who?
Of Jacob, like you just said. Were you in Soup? It's a one-word answer. Were you involved in the investigation?
Of course I wasn't, but I will be going forward in the future. I will be involved in things like this because
Thank you, Soup. I appreciate you.
The crooked police have to be held accountable.
All right. I appreciate you, Soup. Thank you. 800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. Let's go to let's see here. Is Rush in Flushing there? Russ, good morning.
Yeah.
Hey.
I am.
Hey, what's up?
I'm here.
I got you loud and clear, Russ. What can I do for you?
Okay. I told the person who took the call originally, I have one very simple question, and that has to do with the rule of law.
Okay.
And how do we get back to the rule of law until we're able to get back to a real, honest citizens of the republic voting system? If anybody tries to tell me that an electronic voting system is foolproof, I can't buy it. I was involved in high tech for almost 40 years, and I know that there is not one software system yet created that cannot be hacked. Simple questions. I don't know the answers totally, but I do know that we're not going to get back to a rule of law until we find a way to assure ourselves that every citizen of the republic, I'm not saying that anybody shouldn't be, but I watched here in the state of Michigan this mail-in ballot issue. I mean, in the address that I have and have had for 4 years of a home that I bought, I got requests sent to me, requests to fill out and send back, requests for mail-in ballots for myself and my wife. My wife got it 3 times. Then I got requests for mail-in ballots sent to my address for the 2 people who lived in the home prior to my buying.
Right, Russ. Yeah. That's a pretty common story, unfortunately. And yes, we do not have a perfect system. We don't. But at the same time, the law is the law. The rule of law is our rule. That's our rules. These are the rules that we have to follow. If we don't like the laws, then let's change the laws. It's very simple. So if voter laws are not where you think they should be, speak up, talk to your people, talk to your representatives, and tell them how unhappy you are. It's very simple. 800-859-0957. 1142, off to the roadways. Dana Clark.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
Watch for moving work crews in Novi along M5 northbound between 12 Mile and Pontiac Trail. Your right 2 lanes are closed until noon today. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Clarkston Window and Door. Over 31 years in business, over 450 combined years of experience installing windows. Trusted specialists at Clarkston Window and Door. Act now to take advantage of 31% off install windows, doors, and garage doors. 248-338-6781 or clarkstonwindow.com.
But a breeze out of the north-northeast will make the low to mid-30s feel a little chillier this afternoon. May try to sneak some sunshine in here, partial clouds around. Some clouds tonight, 24. Cloud sun tomorrow, 39. Sunday, mostly cloudy with highs in the mid-30s. From the Weather Channel, meteorologist Ray staging on News Talk 760 WJR.
Let's face it, life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like celebrating Grandma's 50th wedding anniversary with close family. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. Yeah, I think he burned the beef. See, that's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
During difficult times, young military families feel the impact. When a military spouse is unemployed, the whole family struggles. The Armed Services YMCA answers the call and provides food assistance to ensure military children have plenty to eat and childcare that enables military spouses to work. Now more than ever, we need your help to provide emergency relief to military families. Help now at helpymca.org.
Don't miss the Trading Group Show Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WJR. Learn how you can earn a full-time income working from home as a short-term trader. Our proven system has helped thousands of people achieve financial freedom, and there is no prior experience needed. For information, call 888-646-8787. That's 888-646-8787. Or listen to The Trading Group Show, Saturdays at 6 p.m. on News Talk 760 WJR.
Have you seen what's happening with the stock market? Record highs every day. How long can this possibly go on for? By the way, this is exactly what happened right before the 2000.com bubbles burst. Remember that? Protect your savings in retirement by putting them into something safe like real gold and silver. I'm not talking about gold or silver stocks, but into real gold and silver you can actually hold in your hands. How do you get real gold and silver? By calling the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-600-GOLD. Now, the Oxford Gold Group will teach you everything you need to know about owning real gold and silver. It's so much easier than you think. So call the Oxford Gold Group right now at 833-600-GOLD.
Nobody's not on there. No.
And free Kwame. LOL, there's the free Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. Chris, I think he's saying they weren't followed. I wonder if any of these people get credit card applications for previous owners. Once again, invigorating show. You guys on again Monday. No, Frank will be back Monday. So you got Frank Monday. So that's very exciting. We'll have Frank back. All right. We have just a couple more minutes here, and we'll wrap it all up.
Chris.
Yeah.
Longtime Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda has passed away.
Oh, no.
He was in the hospital for 7 weeks with an
Did he have COVID?
I don't think that was disclosed, but then released 2 days ago and said he was resting peacefully at home and doing better. Or maybe, I don't know.
No.
Said he was released, so maybe he was released COVID to pass away with his family. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I think he was 93 years old.
Wow.
Here we go.
Or at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
The Frank Beckmann Show, News Talk 760 WJR. Now sitting in for Frank Beckmann, here's Chris Renwick.
800-859-0957. 800-859-0WJR. So we're getting some word here. This is from our friend Chad Livengood over at Cranes. He tweeted out obviously something that the governor will be talking about today. And it's possible she's going to be talking about the restaurants and other parts of our economy here, but it sounds like this could be the main focus of today's press conference at 1:30. Livengood tweets, Governor Whitmer plans to call today on Michigan public schools to reopen for classroom instruction by March 1st, after nearly 2 months of closures due to the fall COVID-19 infection surge, according to 5 sources briefed on the governor's plan. So, now, my guess is that will be her main focus. If you're going to allow students back in schools, you would have to open up restaurants, right? I mean, you'd have to. I don't see how would opening up a restaurant be any different than kids eating lunch in school? Yeah, I'd be really confused and a little stunned if the restaurants also aren't mentioned here. But I guess we'll see. I don't know. But that's Chad Livengood reporting, saying that the governor today will be calling on Michigan public schools to reopen in-classroom instruction by March 1st after 2 months of closures. Now, the other question I have, and I have a couple notes out to some people who I hope will be able to give me some information. But when's the school year supposed to end? I mean, usually you're talking about end of June, beginning of July, usually by the end of June, middle of June even, school's done for the year. So I don't know if they were planning on going a little longer this year or if they had some flexibility, but we'll have to see what that looks like because, you can only be back in school for a couple months. But in student learning is far superior to, I think, what they've been doing. So we'll see. We'll see what they have to say and what the governor has to say at 1:30 today. All right, back to the phones, 800-859-0957. Let's go to Craig in Ontario. Good morning, Craig.
Things in the U.S. is only going to get worse rather than better, and here's why. Because all the institutions set up for justice and truth have been compromised. The FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, the courts, and here's proof. They've had Hunter Biden's laptop for a year, and nothing's been done. How about the guy, the Jeffrey, whatever his name is, the pedophile there that was killed in prison? They've had his stuff, and nothing's been done because what? Bill Clinton and a bunch of swamp guys were on the plane going to his island. Yeah, that's why things will never change. Is because the deep state / the swamp are in control of things, and they're never going to let go of the control. Anyway, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, you got it, Craig. I mean, look, I mean, there are certainly things that need to change. There just are. I mean, there just are. And I don't know if it's up to our lawmakers who have to do a deep dive into what goes on in these departments. If they have to investigate to find out what the problem is. But I mean, look, something's got to change. And we really can't be going the route that we're going now. 800-859-0957. And again, I just want to reiterate, again, Governor Whitmer is scheduled to talk today at 1:30. And she's going to ask public schools in the state of Michigan to reopen by March 1st. And now this is a big story because what does that mean for the other parts of our economy? If kids are allowed to go to school and they're allowed to be in school for 7 hours, 8 hours a day, whatever it is, and they're allowed to eat lunch in school, and they're allowed to be with each other, I would imagine that other parts of our economy should be reopened. Another important question that I very much hope gets asked today is on the vaccines. The governor had been clamoring that we weren't getting enough vaccines. Well, we're not even getting them into arms fast enough. We got a backlog here. So why is that the case? And I sure hope somebody asks her about the shirt that she tweeted out following the Betsy DeVos announcement that she was resigning. A shirt that said, "Hey America, sorry for Betsy DeVos." And then signed with the picture of the state of Michigan. I very much hope she's asked about that because the Democrats are the ones calling for unity. The Democrats are the ones who are saying that this country needs to unite and come together as one. And this is their message. And they're not even following their own rules. The governor at multiple points has referenced this. We need to come together. Well, come together what? Under your decision making? Well, no. But maybe we shouldn't be chastising each other. Debbie Dingell told us this week too. Everybody needs to have a role in this, including Democrats. We told her we'd hold her to it. Well, so far, not so good. So these are the couple things that I very much hope are addressed today. Because these are important things that people really, really care about, that are affecting them right now, at this moment. So we'll see. I guess I'm not hopeful, I suppose. But I at least expect these questions to be asked because I know that these are the questions that you want answered. And again, I would urge reporters on these calls to ask about the facts and data and where that is, where those numbers are. But we'd still love to see them. Haven't seen them. It's January. Haven't seen any numbers, any facts or data to back these decisions up. So we'll see how it goes. That's coming up at 1:30 today. Hopefully we'll have some answers for you. But I suppose I'm not hopeful. I suppose we probably shouldn't hold our breath. All right. It was good to be with you this week. Frank will be back next Monday. Well, this coming Monday, on Monday, back from vacation. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. And we will talk to you on Monday. All right. 11:56 off to the roadways. Get one final checkup with Dana Clark.
Well, Chris, just looking at construction out there, Michigan Avenue eastbound at Telegraph, that midday construction
all right.
project will be done in about an hour at 1
We'll run through here.
Other channel sponsored by Properties. If you're looking for
Great week, guys. Thank you, Patrick. RIP Tommy Lasorda.
for you and your family,
Just saw something. The governor wants schools to open by March 1st. Came from
owners,
Cranes. Yep, we just talked about that.
contact
That is sad about Tommy Lasorda. You never know with this governor. She's like throwing a curveball.
Sunshine later this afternoon.
So sad about the restaurant. School should never have closed. Chris and Nick, have a great weekend. Today's show was awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Clouds on Sunday.
Just think at this time 4 years ago,
Degrees.
they were spying on President Trump and not letting go of Flynn, even though the FBI said there was nothing there. True. We'll miss you Monday, Chris. Just know we will be out there. You too, Nick. Thank you. See you guys next time. Rush. Oh, stop it, Patrick. Frank will be back on Monday. It'll be great. Carolyn, great week. Chris, thank you. Have a good weekend. Chris, Jan, thank you. Jim, have a great weekend. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Nicholas, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Nice job.
All right. See you guys.